Live.
Okay, good morning. I'd like to call to order the January 30, 2021 Lake Washington School Board Study Session. Let the record reflect that all board members are present and participating remotely. All meeting participants are also joining this meeting remotely in alignment with the current proclamation issued by Governor Inslee. Under the Open Public Meetings Act, in-person board meetings are not permitted until the end of the declared emergency or further action by the legislature or governor. Board meetings and study sessions will be live streamed and available on the district's website. If you are unable to view the meeting by live stream, viewers can call 425-936-2813, and the conference ID is 37127. There are several topics that we're discussing tonight, and so we'll try to do our best to stay on task and move it along so that we're out of here by noon or so. Oh, I'm sorry. Director Bleasner said she has an echo. Is everyone hearing an echo from me too? No. Okay, good. The first topic we have tonight is an enrollment forecast, and we've allocated 1 hour for the presentation and board discussion. So we're already 6 minutes into that hour. Following this, we'll take a short 15-minute break. Dr. Holman, will you lead us through this?
Great, thank you. And we have two guests with us today that I want to introduce. We have Ben Maloney and Jerry Ulrich from Flow Analytics. And Jerry was with us last year, presented to our Facility Advisory Committee. But Flow Analytics is a consulting firm that has offices in Portland and Seattle, and their focus is work for public school districts and city governments. So they've done enrollment forecasting and planning work for dozens of school districts, including us last year, Edmond School District, North Shore, Tacoma. I think they're doing a boundary process with Portland right now. So they're excited to join us today and share their recently completed 10-year forecast. Again, an update of last year's forecast, but also to talk about impacts from COVID as well. So Jerry's going to share his screen with the presentation, and then you'll be hearing, and Ben will go through the presentation.
Does that look right to everyone?
Yep.
Yeah.
We can see it.
Just making sure. Yeah, Ben's going to walk us through our forecasts, and before he does that, I just wanted to say really quick that, as Barbara mentioned, we did work for the district forecast last year as well. That was our first year. And we're just really honored to get to do that work for the district. The folks we've been working with, Barbara and Chris and Lynn Pike, are very savvy and have done a great job of providing us with information. They've been very engaged, and that's been extremely helpful to our process. So I just wanted to make a quick shout out to them, and I wish we could have taken the train up today from Portland to do this in person, but maybe in the future. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and turn things over to Ben to walk us through our forecasts.
Excellent. Good morning, everyone. If you can move to the next slide. This we don't really have to cover since this is in the introduction, so we'll just move on to what it is that we're planning to cover today. So we're going to start off with land use data and student yields, move into the general forecasting methodology, talk about the COVID-19 impacts method and methodology we use to create the forecasts with that as an influencing factor. Then dive into recent birth trends, where we'll probably be spending most of our time, and then talk about the enrollment forecasts to wrap it up. And then wrap up with questions and discussion. We'll probably spend the least amount of time with the land use data and student yields. We're a little pressed for time, and there's not a whole lot of changes there as compared to last year. So if you're familiar with last year's report, it's essentially the same information, not the same, but updated information. Same general trends are holding steady. All right. So there's a few questions in mind that we want to focus on, that we focused on also when creating this forecast, knowing the challenges that came about as a result of COVID-19 and the enrollment decline this year. So number one is, how do we actually create a forecast knowing that the decline in 2020-21 enrollment is unlikely to repeat again next year? Given the recent trends of constant increases in enrollment, the current year enrollment, what happened this year is out of the ordinary, obviously. Given that the most recent data is typically our best data in terms of our recent trends, we do need to make adjustments to the process that still incorporate this data, while keeping in mind that students that did not enroll this year will likely return in some proportion next year. And at no point did we ever consider actually tossing out the data. There's a few demography groups that we talked to that recommended just ignoring this year's enrollment. It's like, that's not going to happen. Those students actually showed up. We need to incorporate them in some way. Number two, how do we account for students returning to in-person learning next year? This was probably one of the bigger considerations that we had to take into account. We'll be talking a little bit about this process later on, actually a lot about this process later on, but there's a intense discussion amongst ourselves, with other demography groups, with Lake Washington School District, and then with a few other districts that we work with. What's the best way to approach that there will be an influx of students next year that didn't show up? Number three, what percentage of students who did not enroll this year will return to the Lake Washington School District next year? Essentially the same process as question number two. Lots of discussion there, but we'll be talking about that later on also. And then finally, number four, awareness of other potential impacts. So it's not just an enrollment decline we need to take into account. We also need to look at any residential development slowdown, which we'll briefly mention in just a bit, but really there hasn't been any kind of residential development slowdown. And then also births, where we'll be spending a lot of our time, because there is an impact there that does drastically influence the forecasts. Okay. So enrollment forecasting process, I'll briefly go over. There are two main components to the enrollment forecasts: our student enrollment assessment and the land use analysis. Together combined, play a significant role in our enrollment forecasts. In regard to the enrollment assessment, current and historical trends play a. Where are you going there? All right. Play a role in our forecasts, and in terms of this district, until this year, enrollment just kept climbing. Land use analysis works in conjunction with our recent trends. If enrollment is climbing, it's likely because people are moving to the district, driving a need for additional residential development. Having an idea where this development is likely to occur will help guide our decisions for where student growth is most likely to occur. So those two working together help create our enrollment forecasts. All right, student enrollment assessment. Typically, we'll have a few slides here about what's been happening with your student enrollment. Not so much this year. We're all pretty well aware of the trends where enrollment has climbed by about 3,276 students from 2015 to 2019, then declined last year due to COVID-19. The majority of those declines did occur within the K-5 grade group, less so in 6 to 8. 9 through 12 grade group increased slightly, but maybe not as much as it could have. All right, district overview map. Not really much to say here. There hasn't been any changes since last year. So we're going to just go ahead and move on to our student density map. Also, not a whole lot changed here from last year. So if you did see this report last year, we're still seeing the same, generally the same information this year, where there's a lot of students are located primarily within the Redmond region, or clustered within Redmond and Sammamish, and in the more urbanized area. Kirkland's a little bit more spread out over in the northwest, but still some clusters happening over there. And then a tiny cluster in unincorporated King County over in Redmond Ridge. So same general trends as last year. Jerry, did you have anything to mention to this, or? Nope, okay. All right, so we're going to quickly go through some of the data sources that we use to develop the land use portion of the forecast for the next few slides. All right, so this is an ongoing and constant process. We started this land use analysis last year with the prior forecast and built on that with this year's work. Some of our most important pieces of data that we incorporate into the forecast is the Lake Washington School District tract residential development and student yields, our planner interviews, see if there has been any big changes happening in Redmond's plans or Kirkland's plans or Sammamish, building permits, and then zoning also. And also do want to do a quick mention to Barbara's team with Lynn and Chris. They have fantastic data for the tract residential development and their student yields. Honestly, probably everyone can learn something from what it is that they're doing over there. They were extremely valuable for creating our forecast. So kudos to them. We're definitely going to pick up some of the stuff that they do and incorporate it into what we do. All right. Well, we won't be spending too much time on this slide. This is just here to show some of the ongoing development and inner workings about how we incorporate some of the development happening throughout the district. Redmond, over on the right side, clearly has a great deal of sustained development ongoing and will continue to go on for the next 10 or so years. And then a little bit more sporadic in some of the other areas, but still most of that development is incorporated or concentrated within Redmond. Okay. This is an overview of actionable and speculative development expected to occur over the next 10 years within the district. Actionable development is development information that we received from planners and from the district. It's primarily sporadic single-family developments coupled with a large amount of multifamily development. Anything you see there in the yellow is a planned multifamily developments over the next 10 years. Anything in blue, a little bit more difficult to see, but they're just kind of scattered everywhere. Western end of Redmond, it looks like, and then Sammamish and unincorporated King County also have a few large single-family developments happening over there in the southeast of the district. So lots of multifamily development occurring within Redmond. Kirkland also has some planned multifamily development going on also over the next 10 years. And this shapes a lot of where we're expecting students to show up in our forecasts. Speculative development, if you have any questions about that, is where we expect to see any additional housing development occurring over that forecast period. There's no actual plans for that, but the district is expected to grow beyond what the actionable development is listed right now. So population is, yes. Yeah. That's correct. Yes, that's right. Yeah, sorry about that. But yeah, moving on with the speculative development, the population growth is expected to occur, but the actionable housing development that we are aware of isn't enough to cover that growth. So that helps us place students, place where developments actually could be happening in the future to guide our forecasts.
How are you identifying the location of what you're calling speculative development? I mean, are you identifying a particular parcel will redevelop because of certain, I don't know why or how?
Yeah, Jerry might be able to do a little bit more detail on this, but it's primarily just
high level's fine.
Okay, sure. It is basically driven by what zoning and if there's space. So we were taking a quick, what space is available. So we're taking a look fairly close as to what is going on around those areas and deciding using that to place our speculative development. Anything to add to that? Yeah.
Nope, that sums it up well. Does that answer your question, Eric?
Yeah, thank you.
Perfect.
Mark has his hand raised. Mark, did you have a question on this?
Yeah, quick question. Are we also looking at some of the developments that are the older developments that are likely to be sold off and chopped up, if you will? I know there's a lot along 238th, 236th that all of a sudden you're seeing these older houses that were ranched out houses of the 50s, if you will, disappearing and a lot more of the land being cleared. Are we taking that into consideration as well or not?
If they're, Jerry,
I can
go ahead.
Yeah, so I think it's being taken into consideration a little bit indirectly in that I guess we would kind of refer to that as infill, especially if it's happening in a more urban area. But I think that can also happen a little bit further out. Just looking at recent trends, another thing we look at is how housing has been popping up in the different neighborhoods throughout the district. We're not looking specifically at like data on subdivided lots, but it's sort of being captured in the trends. Like a lot of the single family housing, for example, that is coming in Redmond tends to be the result of infill. So it's kind of indirectly captured. I don't know if you'd have anything to add to that, Ben, or if that.
I was kind of thinking of the county area, the unincorporated area, which seems to be the older houses that are disappearing, and all of a sudden you've got a development on a farm.
Ah, yes, right. Sorry,
Sorry.
Yeah.
I'm in the boonies. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's also sort of I think being captured. Oftentimes for the county, we don't have as much actionable development data because that stuff happens on pretty short time scales. So there might only be enough permits for the next year or two.
Okay.
But as long as it's something that's been happening over the past few years, then I think it should be captured in how we look at the changes in housing units by different neighborhoods throughout the district. And so we kind of pick that up and assume it'll continue to gain that momentum. If it's something that is a very new emerging thing and the county didn't tell us about it, we might not have as good of guesses.
Looks like at Highway 202 and 236, all of a sudden they cleared the lot, and the next thing I knew, the sign was up that all the lots were sold. I mean, within 3 months.
Wow.
So, yeah.
I think that's good for us to look out for, and we're always learning and adapting, so we'll definitely keep a close eye on that.
Thank you.
Director Carlson, I saw your hand go up.
Yeah, sorry. Each of us represents a zone, so we're going to be obviously focusing on our zone when you're looking at these. And it looks like the city of Kirkland didn't give you any speculative units. Would that be an accurate interpretation?
I see a few.
There's 3 down near Bridle Trails, but aside from that, the boundaries, I mean, basically there's just nothing red in our city. And anyway, my instinct is that we're experiencing infill. Every time a house goes down that's got a big lot, 3 go up. And so I think my gut instinct is that maybe Kirkland has the same case of smallpox. It's just that they didn't give you the pox. Anyway, nothing huge, because I did read through the report, and your point was, in the report it acknowledged that most of the development going on in Kirkland is infill, other than these multifamily going up at the urban centers. So, all right.
I would just add, I don't want it to sound like Kirkland gave us bad data. I just want to clarify that the speculative units are actually what we, Flow Analytics, come up with based on what we think is going to happen with population and housing growth. And Kirkland might tell us something about, like, we think the population is going to go here, but it's generally the case that no city has the plans and the permits for everything expected in the next 10 years. So we came up with that. But
Okay.
your point's still taken.
Yeah. Basically, I live in the bottom eighth of that thing between 405 and the water. And we've got a series of houses where there are 1 acre lot. It goes down and 3 houses comes up. And that's been happening at a regular clockwork. So in the next 10 years, I guarantee you there will be some down.
Oh yeah.
Thank you.
Director Bleasner.
Yeah, so my question is just knowing that they've been updating comprehensive plans, I'm assuming this is all getting incorporated into this as well as they look at their, their 30, 50-year comprehensive plans that the cities have to put together.
Yep. If we do have access to the comprehensive plans, then yeah, that is one of our data sources that we use to help place, especially the speculative development.
Okay, that's what I would assume, that's a component of it where that infill comes in.
And I think it comes through also where since we're having conversations with the planners, they can sort of tell us how they think things are trending towards those goals, and so we have kind of real-time information there.
Thanks.
Okay, any last questions on this slide or this topic before we?
One last question. Are we seeing a shift in the dots, if you will, a shift one direction or another of the doesn't matter whether the reds, the blues, or the yellows, but are we seeing a shift from one direction to another, or a bigger concentration moving from one side to the other? I'm just trying to look and see if we have any trends going one way or the other. See where I'm going?
I think, you want me to try to answer that, Ben, since...
Yeah, you're more familiar with last year's.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That said, we've been working with the district the last couple of years, so I'm not exactly, we weren't tracking kind of exactly what this looked like before, but I'm pretty sure that there's a heavier shift towards multifamily, and I think it's just driven by, probably with the exception certainly of your area in the county, but certainly in Kirkland and Redmond, I think there's a shift to multifamily. Maybe Redmond is not even a shift, just there's not as much space, but I think that's, if there is a trend, it's probably in that direction.
Okay.
Just because
I just didn't know if there was a directional
So-
shift.
I appreciate everyone's questions. I see Director Bleasner's hand went up again. I want to do a time check. We're almost at 9. So anyway, please be disciplined in your questions so we can keep this moving. Director Bleasner, put your hand down. Is that what happened? Okay, we're gonna keep
I
moving.
was trying to be disciplined, but one quick question. When you speak multifamily, and I know it was in the report at one point, how are you able to incorporate large multifamily, 3 bedrooms, 4-bedroom multifamily housing, and smaller podments that are being created, and 1 bedrooms that won't necessarily? So how do you deal with those generation factors?
Ben's actually going to talk about that very
Okay.
shortly. Yeah, it's a very good question.
Yeah.
I'm gonna move
Very
us-
timely question.
Actually, it is the next slide.
So yeah, this is our student yields from new development. This is what we're expecting in terms of yields from the new residential development that we received data from planners and from the district. The tables themselves, or the results that you see there, are from our own calculations along with that information. So we lean a little bit more into the Washington School District's student yield data because they do. I mean, you all do such a great job with that. Overall, the single family rates are a little bit lower than the district data, and the multifamily rates that you see there at 0.19 on the top table are a little bit higher. That's mainly just due to a classification discrepancy between our tracked data. So I think it was townhomes is what drove multifamily up. We have it listed as multifamily in ours, and that's not so much in the district data. As for the second table, we're breaking down those overall rates that you see up top into municipalities. So King County and Sammamish show the highest single family rates or student yield rates due to the nature of the area. There's a little bit more space to develop bigger homes, yards and such. As for multifamily, Redmond, as we already saw, has a tremendous amount of activity, but a lot of that is that 1 bedroom or studio apartments, so it's not exactly conducive to having large families. So that drives the rates down to like 0.14 that you see right there at the multifamily for Redmond. A little bit higher in Kirkland. Sammamish has some bigger development happening there, or at least more spacious units. So we expect to have a few more students yielded per unit over in that area. But that's essentially where we're taking into account more so the size and bedroom count of these units to develop these yields. Okay. All right. Our enrollment forecasts. Let's see. Well, we're going to briefly mention a few data sources that we look into when creating the forecasts, then talk a little bit about the general methodology and the types of enrollment forecast, although with time constraints, we might skip over a couple of these slides, and then dive more deeply into our COVID adjustments and birth forecasts. And then finally, we're going to talk about the enrollment forecast. So it's a little bit away before we start looking at some of the actual enrollment forecasts, but there's a few things to cover first. All right, our source data, this is real briefly here, some of the information that we pull in, obviously the student information system, geographical attendance areas, district boundaries, school locations. The Washington State Department of Health birth data is vitally important for creating our birth forecasts. Office of Financial Management is also super useful, looking at their population forecasts, if they're still viable, given how fast that the area is growing. Also plays a role in some of the population targets that we create to help create our land use development that we just went over. Okay. Do we want to spend any time on this slide, Jerry, do you think? Oh.
I'll just sum it up by saying, unless someone has questions, that we use industry standard methods to prepare enrollment forecasts. That it's kind of a hybrid model approach, but it's very rooted in kind of demography, so, and lots of data.
Lots of data.
Very short question on that. The deaths is obviously not students, but are we seeing differential turnover? Are we getting ballarded?
Are you talking about?
Sorry, turnover from grandparents to school-aged parents of properties. Is that a real factor in our district right now or not?
Oh, I think we don't have specific data on that. That would have to be something we probably hear anecdotally. We didn't hear anything about that specifically from the planners.
Yeah. No, I was just looking at the model and trying to figure out how deaths fit there. And I know that's happened in some regions of but not in our district.
Deaths fits in. I'll try to say very concisely that we have to try to model what's happening with all parts of the population when it's part of this kind of holistic demographic model. So it doesn't really relate much here. Yeah.
Let's not go down that rabbit hole. Thank you.
All right, so types of enrollment forecasts, just real quick. There's building attendance programs, which is just the number of students expected to attend this school. It does account for out-of-district students coming into the district, any special programs, and then transfers happening in between schools. Residence-based is just the number of students expected to reside within a certain region, so they may not actually be attending the school that of the attendance area of which they live. They could be going anywhere, but that just shows where they're living at. For this presentation, we're only going to be focusing on building and program attendance. Residence-based, if you're interested, or you have, a few of you have already read the report, there's more information regarding those forecasts in the report itself. Okay. All right, so we're going to get to the real meat of the presentation with our COVID-19 adaptation methodology. All right. So this slide and the next cover a few important considerations that we really need to understand before we start talking about the enrollment forecasts. So starting off, missing students. This is another one of the discussions that we had with the district and surround other districts that we work with, and some of the outside demography groups that do similar work, but they're defined as the difference between the previous flow forecasted enrollment for 2020, 2021, and the actual enrollment that occurred this year. That comes out to a total of about 1,325 students. If you were to take the decline in enrollment and add the expected growth that we expected to happen last year, that comes out to the same total. So it's students that the decline plus the students we expected to show up and didn't show up. So knowing that there is a great deal of uncertainty surrounding COVID-19, instead of one forecast, we typically provide that has a high, a medium, and a low. Our medium is typically our preferred forecast. This year, we essentially created 3 different forecasts that are shaped by our baseline, 85% of missing students return, and 100% of missing students return. So our baseline forecast is probably our most important version of the forecasts. It is the no missing students return. So we just take this year's enrollment and do a normal forecast out to 10 years. And it does form the backbone of our forecast. Because after this, the missing students are added upon that forecast, but we'll talk more about that as we move through. The 85% of missing students return forecast is the preferred forecast. That works out to about 1,125 students. And replacing our high forecast is the 100% of missing students return. It's our more optimistic forecast. If everything just works out great for everyone, that everyone comes back, that works out to 1,325 students.
And can I add one thing that I just thought of?
Yeah.
It's so easy. We talk about this stuff and we kind of know everything that we're thinking, but this, I would just state, it's not stated here, but our 85%, which is our preferred forecast, and 100%, those are really contingent upon an expectation that students would be able to return to in-person learning in October of this year. So just want to make that clear.
Yes. And every number, for the most part, that we reference from here on out, we'll be talking about the 85% return scenario. But all the 100% and baseline, or 100% is definitely located within the report. All right, so missing students by grade. This table shows what we worked out to be those missing students broken down by grade. These are added to the forecast. However, it's not quite as straightforward as what's shown here. So again, we're going to hear this over and over. Through the discussions with the district, other districts that we work with, other demography groups, and some other research, also talking to parents on what their decision making is going to be. It was decided that the kindergarten students would be most likely, the missing kindergarten students would be most likely to return next year in kindergarten. Every other grade after that is advanced 1 grade. So your first graders that you see 85%, 100% return at 176 and 207, those will be advanced to second grade. The second graders in both scenarios get added to third grade. Third graders get added to fourth grade. 11th grade, as we skip down there, will be added to 12th grade. And 12th grade didn't really have any missing students, but it doesn't matter so much for the forecast because they're going to be exiting the system. Oh, and just real quick on that last slide, one other thing I want to mention, and we'll cover this a little bit later if there's time, is as we move through the forecast, there's fewer and fewer of that original group that gets added to the forecasts. They're progressing also. So by the time we get to 20, 30, 31, the only students that we added grades to that remain is that kindergarten through third grade class. But there's a slide towards the end that's going to illustrate that a little bit better than me just saying it. Okay. All right. This slide, birth and kindergarten forecasts, there's only one slide for this section, but this is probably the one that we're going to spend the most amount of time on. So we're not going to breeze through this. There's a lot to talk about since this is what's primarily influencing a lot of the forecast, especially in the second half of the forecast. Okay. So it looks pretty simple to start with, but there's a lot here. So in the first table up top in the blue line, it shows the historical county births and birth forecasts from 2011 all the way to 2025. The second line shows the kindergarten enrollment as it relates to the births occurring 5 years earlier. So we have historical enrollment in kindergarten from 2016 to 2020, and then forecasted out from 2021 to 2030. The relationship between the two is that 5-year time span. So you see 2011 births of 24,512. Enrollment that year in kindergarten was 2,328 students. 2014, 25,246 births within the county, and that related to 2,360 kindergarten students enrolling within the district that year, 2019. So in general, as births increase, there's the expectation that kindergarten would increase in response. And this is generally what we see here. From 2011 to 2014, there was an increase of 734 births. And in response, we do see a general enrollment increase from 2016 to 2019 in kindergarten, with the exception of 2017, where there was a slight dip there, and then a return to what you would kind of expect in 2018 and 2019. This brings us to the relationship between 2015 births and 2020 enrollments. In 2015, you see there was another increase in enrollments, but we didn't get that same response that we saw the previous 2 years in terms of kindergarten enrollment due to the impacts of COVID-19 and parents deciding to not send their children to school, primarily in the kindergarten grades, or sending their students elsewhere. Yes, that's all for that. Births, continuing to births reached an apex really in 2016 with 25,872, and then declined in 2017 and 18 and 2019. Now this is important because this does mark a departure from the previous forecast. At the time that the forecast was being created last year, 2018 and 2019 birth data was not available. So there's really only 1 year of decline to reference. So there's the expectation with an economy that was in much better shape than that births would perk back up in 2018 and 2019. But in reality, the births moved in the opposite direction of those forecasts. So we saw declines in 2018 and again in 2019. So moving back to how we expect that to play out in the kindergarten enrollment, if we hold those same general trends where births increase and kindergartners increase in response, we'd expect the opposite also to happen. So if births are decreasing, kindergarten enrollment would also be decreasing. So 2022, 2023, 2024 enrollment in kindergarten is declining slightly in a response to those actual birth declines that happened through the county. This, we'll talk a little bit about how that actually impacts kindergarten through fifth in just a second before we move off this slide. But moving on from that, let's see, we're at 2020 births now when the forecast actually began. We're expecting, mainly due to population increases and ongoing residential development, a slight increase in births in 2020, leading to an increase in kindergarten enrollment in 2025, a slight increase. Just real quick, a note to make that this reflects the baseline forecast for kindergarten. So that number that you see in 2021 for kindergarten enrollment, that is before the missing kindergartners are added to that kindergarten forecast. So there's a difference in between the numbers. But it's because students that are missing are not added quite yet in this table. All right. And then we're going to 2021 births. There's a matter of contention here, especially with kindergarten enrollments. This is due to the impact or what we expect the impact of COVID-19 to result in for births. So we moved from 24,291 births expected in 2020 to nearly 1,000 fewer births in 2020, 2021. This is based on research from the Brookings Institute back in June of last year. And then they again updated their information in December of last year, where they were expecting 300,000 to 500,000 fewer births across the United States as in 2021 due to the economic impacts surrounding COVID-19. Other information that backs that up is from a German research firm that generally called for the same thing. Where they're expecting more mothers to put off having births until economic situation improves for everybody.
So they're actually, but they are a U.S. It's a U.S. Outfit, but they just have a German name. Yeah.
Oh, really? Okay,
yeah, yes.
I did not actually know that. All right. And then finally, one last bit of information that actually just started popping out. there is some updated birth data popping out from Florida, California, and Ohio, and they are actually starting to see a decrease of about 5% to 8% in the births. So that 1,000 birth drop that we're expecting works out to about 4.5%. So a little bit lower, or better than what is currently happening in a few different states, and is better than what Brookings Institute is calling for. They were, I think, 8 to 10% is what they were forecasting with that 300,000 to 500,000. I think given the, I guess, the economic situation surrounding the area, we're a little bit more optimistic. So it could potentially be worse, but we're thinking the area is going to be a little bit better off than surrounding areas. So that relates to a decrease of about 100 kindergarten students in 2020, 2026. After that, back to the birth forecasts from 2022 to 2025, we do expect, under the consideration that how can I best say that? We're expecting economic situations to improve as that vaccine gets out and people are able to return to work and students are able to return to school and in-person learning. We do expect a fairly vigorous incline in births, expect to recapture some of that decline that happens in 2021. But all of this is contingent upon things actually improving for everybody at a fairly quick pace. That might not actually be the case, but I think given how well things economically were happening in recent years, we could definitely see this happen, a birth increase along this magnitude. And this would lead to an expected increase in kindergarten enrollment from 2027 to 2030. So our last point to mention on this is how does this translate to kindergarten through fifth enrollment, where we start to see the impacts in the forecast or the differences between the two forecasts. So if we're expecting to see a decline in kindergarten enrollment, we should expect to see a decline in kindergarten through fifth enrollment, because as those students or those cohorts, say like the 2023 through 2025 cohort of kindergarten students are moving through the system, through the forecast period, those they will typically be adding students as they move through the forecast, but because they are starting off with fewer students, it acts to slow the actual enrollment increase. So increases are still expected in the forecast, but they're going to be happening more slowly than what we originally expected last year. All right. Anything to add to that, Jerry?
I didn't actually mean to click.
No, that's all right. Anyone have any questions?
That really is.
I
That
think
really is. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I was going to say, just let's hold questions so we can get through, just given our time, so get through the rest of the presentation. And I would suggest doing the next two slides, and then maybe we can, and then skip over those grade group ones, and then we can move on from there. So,
Sounds good.
Sounds good, Barbara.
thank you.
Yeah, we just wanted to make sure to speak in detail on that last slide because it really has a huge impact on the forecasts. So I'll go ahead, Ben. Here we go.
All right, thank you. All right, so the district-wide forecasts, if you saw this figure in the previous report, you'll notice that it looks very different. Instead of that preferred forecast in the orange line with an estimation of a high and low scenario of some percentage beyond and below that preferred forecast, here that red line, or used to be the high scenario, represents our 100% of students return. The orange line, again, is our 85% or preferred forecast, and the blue line is our baseline forecast, where no students are being added to the scenarios. Under each scenario, we do expect more growth within the first 5 years than we do in the second half of the forecast, primarily because of slightly less expected actionable development. Fewer scenario students, or the students that were being added to the forecast, there's fewer and fewer as they progress through the system. And then, of course, primarily the slower or lower birth forecast, which acts to drag that enrollment down. The baseline forecast expects an increase of 2,922 students through 2030, whereas the 85% and 100% scenario are expected to see increases of 3,456 students and 3,553 students respectively over that same period. Then one last point to mention is that you'll notice the high scenario and the medium growth, or the 85% scenario, tend to converge towards the end of the forecast period, and that is a result of those students that were added in the forecast this next year. As they move through, there's fewer and fewer available in the forecast, so they tend to converge towards a point. Okay, that's it. All right, the grade group forecasts. This is still fairly similar to last year, where your orange line is the kindergarten through 5th, your green line represents the 6th through 8th grade group, and then the purple line is your 9th through 12th grade group. For kindergarten through 5th, and the orange line, the general trend is to hold fairly steady through 2023, and then start to decline through 2025. And then you notice a larger drop in 2026. That's the result of the 2021 births starting to come in, that lower count coming in. And then slight increases through the rest of the forecast period as those births begin to rebound 5 years prior. 6th through 8th grade group, general trend is increases through 2025, holding flat through about 2029, 2030. And then you notice a large drop off. This we're going to go over a little bit more, but the way it's a result of the way students are being added into the forecast in that first year. That kindergarten cohort is fairly large. By 2029, 2030, that cohort is in 8th grade, and then they leave and enter 9th grade in 2029, 2030. So there's a sudden drop happening there. You'll see just the opposite at the high school level. As we move through, we're expecting increases through 2028, 29, 30. There's a slight drop happening in 2029, 30 that we'll cover in a little bit. That's because of that lighter cohort in 1st grade. And then a sudden spike in 2029 or 2030, 31 as that large kindergarten cohort from next year is entering 9th grade. But there is a table that shows that a little bit more clearly coming up. So
I'm going to skip through these ones per Barbara. Good idea.
yes. So one final slide on the treatment of the missing students. So as the forecast progresses, so do the missing students that are initially added to the forecast. As we're moving through, we see the black lines represent where those missing students are located at. As we move through the forecast, there's fewer and fewer in the system. So by 2027, 28, there are no students being added or left in the kindergarten through 5th grade group. And then by 6th through 8, not 6th through 8, sorry, by 2030, 31, they've exited the 6th through 8th grade group, leaving us with just that initial kindergarten through 3rd grade class entering 9th grade through 12th grade. And the way that students were added in also creates those pockets of low and high enrollment. If we were to go way back to that initial missing student slide that breaks it down by grade, I talked about how we're essentially skipping 1st grade for adding students back in, because the assumption is that everyone from 1st to 12th just advances 1 grade. So it creates a lighter pocket of enrollment, followed by a heavier pocket of enrollment in kindergarten, which plays a little bit of havoc with some of the grade group forecasts as they move through. Okay. And finally, these next 4 slides breaks down the building attendance enrollment and the 85% return scenario by each region. I'm not going to spend any time going over like individual schools and just reading off numbers. That's a great way to start losing people real fast. So just focus primarily on the percentage increase that we expect in each region through the forecast period. So the Lake Washington region, and these are all fairly similar to last year, just a little bit lower. Most of the growth will be happening in the Lake Washington region. So we're expecting an 18.9% increase there. In the Juanita region, a little bit lower at 13.8%. Redmond region follows up with a 10.5% increase. And then finally, the East Lake region is at 6.5% increase. So the slowest growth happening here, but still we're expecting more students to show up instead of a decline. So that leads us to our final slide of the forecast. Real similar to that previous one of the previous slides, but overall at the grade group level, we're expecting a 2.9% increase in kindergarten through fifth, which is significantly lower than what we were expecting last year, but that is primarily because of a less optimistic birth forecast. 6 through 8 grade group, 11.6% increase. 9 through 12 grade group at 27.1% increase. Now that at the surface looks a little scary, like what is happening at the high school level? That is primarily because of that kindergarten cohort in 2021. As we were to follow that through, that large cohort with the students being added in, they're entering in 9th grade in 2030-31. So it drives up that enrollment forecast quite a bit for the high school grade group. And then finally, as a total, we're looking at 11.3% growth through the entire forecast period for the district. And that's it.
And I just want to thank you, Ben, and I just want to, and Jerry, and I thank you. I want to point out that last year, the percentage increase was about 14%. So even with the birth decline, we're still this 11% it's just a little bit lower than it was from last year's projection. So it's still a large increase in 3,500 students.
Mm-hmm. Good point.
And Chris and Siri have questions in the chat, but Chris, do you want to ask your
Sure. I think the variables you've got in here make sense in terms of housing. The question I had was around major changes in employers or employment centers. Google in South Kirkland is doubling the size of their campus. And when they first showed up, it did great things for the price of my house, but it also brought an awful lot of young families into our schools. So is that something that's part of your forecasts?
Do you want to answer that, or you want to, Ben?
All right, go ahead. I'll just build off of it if there's anything.
Yeah. So we don't directly account for employment in our forecasts, just because we.
Yeah, I know. I understand. I mean, there's so many variables.
Yeah.
I appreciate your attempt in COVID.
Yeah.
5% is the standard swag, and I'm good with it.
Yeah.
So.
I would say the way that it's captured is hopefully it's captured indirectly in the trends that we're expecting to see in housing growth. We do look at home prices some, but we also hear from the planners what they're expecting there and how they expect that to translate into like different types of families. And then just how population growth has been happening. I would say we put a lot of focus on where we expect housing development, how much housing development we expect to have happen, and the relationship between that and employment and population growth are also intertwined.
Yeah, unfortunately, the housing starts were in the section that's sort of built out. It's all infill around here. But when you add a major new employment center that employs young people, it has an impact that's beyond. Anyway, so Siri has a good question.
Yeah, it is a question we do go over with the planner. So if they do have any information, it does influence our decision making, but not directly.
So my other question sort of builds off of that, is just knowing that telecommuting has become much more and the opportunities for people to live in different locations. Have you taken I looked at those COVID projections and we're thinking about how you're doing that. That's another potential impact of COVID, of how people move and live. So have you considered those pieces as well as you look towards that projection, or how would that even fit into this? I appreciated you're using migration, because I do think that drives so much of what and that was my take actually from your kindergarten piece, is it's the birth rates aren't going to be driving as much. Migration in is helping to keep the numbers up and some of that going forward. So how might that be impacted due to COVID?
That's a fantastic question, and one that we're probably trying to figure out ourselves. I think we're still a little bit too early on to really know what's happening with that. I know it's something we've discussed.
Believe that it could.
It could. that could have a big impact. I think we also, and it certainly is having a very big impact in places like New York City, and that there's actionable data to show that. I think maybe that's not being seen as much, at least right now. I think there's some things happening in Seattle, like Seattle's rent prices have dropped quite a bit, and that's an indication that there are people probably moving out of Seattle and all of that. It's easier to get that data on the kind of the bigger cities. But one thing we do look at is certainly that, like we kind of talked about in the land use section, that there does just still seem to be a strong demand for housing. So it could be that maybe it's different types of people that are showing up, and I think there's still going to be a lot of migration, but it's hard to say right now how all of this is going to play out. But we're not assuming any drastic impacts right now based on the potential of an exodus of people for remote work, and with new employment centers coming in.
And remind me for the student generation factors, and I apologize, I don't quite remember at this point in time, is as the multifamily has always been the question, right? As to how many bedrooms and do we separate out that student generation factor? So that we look at if it's a 3-bedroom, we expect them, if they build 10 3-bedrooms, we expect that to generate X number. But if they spend 100 single bedrooms, only get this.
To the extent that we have the data, yes.
Okay.
If what we get gives us indication of unit counts, we absolutely adjust accordingly.
Yeah, we'll look at specific developments also and just see if there is any information. Some of them are, for some reason, super secretive about how many bedroom counts they have in there. It's really frustrating sometimes.
I would bet.
Yeah. We do try to dig into specific large ones. If it's a 300 unit building, we really need to know what their plan is for 2 and 3 bedroom units. So if that data is available, we pull it in.
Okay, great. Thanks.
Good questions.
Is there any impact from the introduction to light rail to Redmond? Do we have any feel for that at all?
Jerry could probably talk a little bit more about this too, but that plays a role in for our land use development. If I'm on the right track with this, along the light rail, people want to live close to the light rail, so there's more development along the light rail. And unfortunately, especially in Redmond, like most of those are still going to be your smaller buildings there. But I would expect there to be sustained development happening there, and anywhere there's a light rail going in.
And I think it did come through certainly in conversations with the planners, and I think that is one of the things that's driving the smaller units in Redmond, because maybe things will be different now with not as many people maybe commuting to Seattle, but the idea that there'd be a lot of kind of younger millennial, people moving into smaller units there. So we did that is being accounted for.
Any other
Thank
questions? Oh, go ahead, Mark.
Oh, just saying thank you.
Just a quick
You're very
question, and I may have missed this. Oh, did you call me Eric? I'm sorry.
Yes.
Okay. I may have missed this. I'm near the village at Totem Lake, and I see the type of units that are, being offered, and I check the prices, and there's some, apartment units that are nearing $1 million to look over 405, which blows my mind. And then there's some, a half a mile away that are looking over the dumpster in the alley. So is there any way to sort of wonder, which type of housing you are looking at when you're looking at bedrooms, and, what they cost, and perhaps take a guess at how many children might be living in those? Is it different calculation if you were to know the price that something was going to be offered at, I guess?
Yes, and that is sometimes the planners will tell us, like, if certainly though they usually always tell us if there's expected to be low income housing exclusively in a building or partially, or if they expect that it's higher price points than the surrounding area, and so we can take that into consideration. Then another thing that we take into consideration is the existing number of students per housing unit and the different areas of the district with pretty good granularity. So if it's an area that's already perhaps more affluent then and has a certain kind of demographic and pattern of number of students, then we can capture that. And if it's an area, so if that makes sense, we also look at the surrounding area and how many students per housing unit there are there, which is informed by many things, one of which is home prices. Good question.
Thank you.
Okay. We're at 9:35. I think that any other questions? No. Okay. Cool. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
Yep. Thanks. Yep. Thanks for joining us on a Saturday. We really appreciate it.
Great to meet all of you, and we're grateful to be doing work for the district, and hope the rest of your morning, afternoon goes well.
Thanks.
Most definitely. Thank you all.
Okay, so we'll take a short 15-minute break. It's 9:35, so we will reconvene at 9:50 a.m. That work for everyone? Excellent. Okay, see you all in 50 minutes. Okay, we will now reconvene the January 30 study session. The next topic is space planning. We have 45 minutes scheduled for this presentation and board discussion. Dr. Holman, will you please kick us off?
There we go. I keep forgetting to turn my microphone on this end, not just my team's microphone, so I apologize to those that weren't hearing me earlier. So this portion of the presentation today is in response to kind of an ongoing conversation that we've had with the board around non-instructional spaces. And as we've grown as a district, rightfully so, we've paid great attention to the student space needs in the system, because with that rapid growth, we needed new schools and expanded schools and all of those pieces. But along with that rapid growth also comes growth in our staff, our non-instructional staff here centrally at our support services spaces. And so we were charged with doing some additional review and analysis of our spaces, some comparison to local districts to really benchmark some of the needs that we may have as a school district. We also know that through this past 8-9 months of remote work for staff, that could also have implications for space needs. Today's presentation doesn't have that layer of implication as part of this, but really does provide an update around comparable spaces to other school districts. When we moved into the resource center, what were some of the assumptions and relations to number of staff in the space? And so today's that update, the team here that you see on the screen, we've met with a number of times. They've done a great job of bringing some really interesting data elements to us as we think about our non-instructional spaces, office spaces, collaboration spaces, and meeting spaces. Barbara, I'll hand it over to you.
Thank you. So today we have with us two people from JPC Architects, and that's Brian Trapp and Jason Romine, and they have been designing office and buildings for local tech companies since 2014. They work with school districts on projects, and so they've been working with us, I think the past 6 months on this. They presented this similar information to our facility advisory committee in December. So they're going to kick it off, and they're going to spend about 20 minutes, and then we have a second group for the second half. So Brian, why don't you go ahead and share your screen and get started, and we'll try to hold questions till the end, have him get through the presentation, and then we can answer questions.
Okay.
Thank you for the introduction and good morning. I assume you can see my screen okay. Please speak up if you can't. So we have a lot of information to share. We've done a deep dive into a lot of different aspects of the district administrative spaces, and I'll try to keep this as concise as possible, but get ready, there's a lot to see here. So we were tasked with assessing the district administrative spaces and the facility spaces and comparing them with other districts. So we toured the facilities, we talked with other school districts, including Seattle, Bellevue, Spokane, and Everett. We parsed the data as best we could, compared and contrasted it, and we talked with Barbara and Brian multiple times to figure out the best way to present this and how to establish a benchmark. And now we are ready to share with you. So there's 4 sections to cover here. There's the administrative or office spaces for the district, and there's the facility spaces and the facilities office spaces that support the other functions like the warehouse, for example. And then finally, we'll talk about training spaces and talk about the shortages there. So the administrative spaces include the resource center, a small part of the Willows Annex, since that has some office space. And the graphs that follow will include leased spaces and portables that are housing some office staff, but some of the graphs exclude that data because it skews it, and I'll explain when and where that occurs. So generally, we're looking at how much space is there per district employee and how much should there be. So originally, when the resource center was built, there was about 350 square feet per person. Currently, as they've added staff, looking at about 211 square feet per employee. So space has increased by about 40% over 20 years. And we are also told that enrollment is expected to increase by about 13% in the next 9 years. So we took this and we compared it to several other districts. What we found is that on average, there's probably about 300 square feet per person. At least that's our benchmark. And as you can see, there's a huge decline in space per person in the Lake Washington district. Generally, other school districts have more. Bellevue, annoyingly, is an outlier in several cases. And in this case, tech companies were too, but as you know, tech companies function a lot different. We were asked to compare the district offices to tech companies, and we have averaged those findings from 9 different companies that have between 200 and thousands of employees in the Puget Sound area. And on average, they have 160 square feet per person, but we recognize that school districts function a lot differently than tech companies. So for the sake of this discussion, we will target 300 square feet per person as a benchmark. Looking a little bit deeper at the spaces, we find that the conference rooms that are currently available are lacking. In general, Lake Washington has fewer conference rooms per staff than all the other districts, except for Spokane. In general, it has fewer than other districts and tech companies as well. And we looked at the ratio of districts or of conference rooms as well among the other districts and found that overall there are fewer small conference rooms and more large conference rooms in proportion to other districts and tech companies as well. And the way this functions is that there are more private offices at Lake Washington per person than other districts. Once again, Bellevue is an outlier, but they're planning to redevelop their facilities, so this will probably come down. Okay, so this table shows a lot of data, but to explain what's the purpose of this, we are going to show a graph on the next slide, and this is the data that supports the next graph. So we have this staff compared to enrollment in the upper table here, the past, present, and future. We're told that presently there's about 1% of admin staff compared to student enrollment, and so we're using that generally as a basis for future needs. And then the 300 square feet per person comes staff, current and future needs, and multiply that by the spaces needed. So, as you'd expect, we found there's a big need for space currently and more so in the future. Considering that currently there's about 54% less space per person than other districts and 40% fewer conference rooms than other districts. Looking to the future, we found the district would need an additional 33,000 plus square feet in 8 years or so. And if you consider that some of the space is currently leased or staff are sitting in portable buildings, another 4,900 square feet would be needed to move staff out of those spaces. Now, we collected troves of data on different school districts. And if you were to hire another company to look at this data, they would find different conclusions, different numbers. But overall, what we found is that it's abundantly clear that there's a dire need for more space. We could display the data in many different ways, and we talked about how best to do that. We feel that this is the clearest way to do it. And it was obvious to us right from the get-go when we walked through the resource center and found people were setting up desks and conference rooms that there's a need for more space. So we feel very confident that another company would find similar conclusion here. So briefly, I'll run through some floor plans and illustrations of different districts that we analyzed. And what you see is there's many different arrangements in different buildings. For example, for Spokane, they put their private offices on the exterior walls, not the interior. Overall, there is space to gain some efficiency and move a few more people into the existing spaces, but not nearly enough in the current spaces to house all the current staff or future staff comfortably. We also looked at Everett, which was interesting because they did not have many large conference rooms or any large conference rooms actually, just had smaller conference rooms. This is a new building that they've recently developed. We also looked at Seattle, which has a massive SODO building that used to be the US Postal Service. And they have many open office spaces, relatively speaking. They also have more huddle rooms because people need to make private conversations more often. Also looked at Bellevue, has many different buildings, and you see Bellevue also subscribes to the idea of putting private offices on the exterior. This could change as they renovate though. And as mentioned, we looked at tech companies. And what you'll notice with the tech company plan on the lower right here is that there's a huge lack of private office space. There's no private office space. They just use huddle rooms and they need to make a private conversation. There's another tech company just a few blocks south of the resource center you've probably heard of that uses the neighborhood concept where open offices are actually divided into 8 to 12 people, and they use focus rooms. They need to make a private conversation in a similar fashion. Okay, part 2, looking at the office spaces that support facilities. So here we're only looking at the support services building offices. Everything you see here in orange is upstairs, and the offices for the shops, transportation, warehouse. So what we found is that obviously the support services building is rather old and hasn't changed in quite some time. So as they've added staff, there's a growing need for more space, and that hasn't happened. So we are seeing a need for a bit more space for the offices that support the facilities spaces. We will go into that a little bit more after the next section. Looking at the facility spaces themselves, we're looking at warehouse, shops, IT repair, and IT repairs in the Willows Annex building. If we compare the facility spaces to other districts, specifically Bellevue, again, there is an outlier there with the warehouse space in Bellevue. Since Bellevue doesn't do phased occupied construction, they have a huge need for more warehouse space. But if you exclude that, you can still see that generally there is less facilities space in Lake Washington than there is in Bellevue. And considering that Bellevue has only 2/3 the student population of Lake Washington, it does seem like Lake Washington facilities is operating quite a bit leaner than Bellevue. Again, this was breaking down the support services center by department, and the different colors is shown here, and separating the office spaces from those departments. We looked at the Willows Annex building as well. This was considered part of the administrative spaces, not facility spaces. And we looked at Bellevue, as I mentioned. So it's many different buildings. I'll just briefly run through this to get to the point. Okay. So the facilities office spaces. There is a need for more space, as I mentioned. It doesn't amount to a whole lot. To add about 1,300 square feet would be sufficient, it seems, just to support a few more people in those offices. And we found that overall the facility space was at capacity. Space per person has definitely fallen for the office spaces, but overall the facility spaces themselves are at capacity. But there is a presentation following mine that might go into that in a little more detail. Training spaces. Okay. We heard that there were some conflicts with scheduling training spaces that were needed in the district, and we gathered the district's schedule for training spaces and presented this graph here. So this is a timeline of the need for total people per day in training spaces and the overall trend lines that you're seeing. So there's a high need for space in November, December, and late spring. And we put a star next to each date that we found there was a scheduling conflict in the previous school year. I found this probably the best way to illustrate the information we were given. And based on the schedule we found, there certainly is a need for some more training space. What we found is that the scheduling conflicts were generally for events with 25 to 65 people or so. And what this meant is that the conference rooms, because of the shortage of space, there was a need to schedule these spaces before the start of the school year in most cases, and the large conference rooms weren't available less than 2 weeks in advance. The large conference rooms are actually a bit smaller than the overall training spaces. In addition, some meetings were held off-site due to scheduling conflicts. So to accommodate the conflicts that we saw last year, at least, we would recommend adding 2 new training rooms with a capacity for 30 and 70 people. And to do that and provide support space such as restrooms and circulation, you probably need about 3,200 square feet. So that would probably take care of the space needs for training. And that is concluding our presentation. For any other questions?
I'm not sure if it's a question, but and this is probably for Barbara. The off-site, how much of a hassle is off-site? Because owning the space and letting it lie fallow much of the time versus renting it when we need surge capacity. Can you speak to that?
Sure. Well, the challenge with leasing space, and again, we are leasing space right now for offices and our transition academy for students as well, is that those funds have to be paid for out of the general fund. So it takes operating money away from kind of our day-to-day operations, where when you actually own the property and the building, then you can use capital dollars to upgrade those facilities and to purchase those facilities. So that's the only that's one challenge with leasing space. But certainly you're right, it's more flexible as you grow. You could, lease it for a few years and then stop leasing it as you, if needs change.
Sorry, I had not fully appreciated the general fund implications of leases. I'm just talking about surge capacity for training events. If you just want to rent for a day or two the Marriott's ballroom or something, is that something that's...
Absolutely, that's something we could do. Again, it's just the cost of doing that, the cost of renting space.
All right.
I think the other piece around renting community space, there's not many community spaces that are appropriate for professional learning, professional development training. There are some City of Redmond facilities that we can use, but they're stadium-style seating to be able to hold this number of participants. And that really isn't conducive to the reason why you would have people together. Having people together is really so that you can be around a table, you're collaborating around curriculum, you're learning together. I think that another piece of all of this is what we have learned through this remote working period is there are some trainings that we can hold here in this space that can accomplish the goals of that training. But so much of our training goes well beyond just the delivery of information. It's really about, connecting, collaborating, working on common, materials and work. And so there's still that need for in-person training that a remote environment doesn't accomplish the full set of goals for that training.
Siri, the floor is yours.
Oh, thanks. So in listening through that presentation, thank you. That gives sort of a good overview of different pieces. There were obviously some just sort of parameters and values that were stated within that environment. One, that 300 square feet is a standard that we would want to hold. So I'd like to have a little understanding better as to how that gets set. That to me is sort of a parameter that drives everything through this. There also seems to be a relation that was, as you brought out the tech companies, honestly, in the relation between conference space and small spaces and opportunity to collaborate and that concept, along with the need for private offices and how office space is defined. And that to me, again, is another conversation to have as you look to needs for the administrative space and components with it. And you mentioned this does not incorporate the whole remote and options and online pieces. And I do see a lot of that driving some pieces that could also influence pretty heavily. So I think this is a great piece, but I do think there's some value statements that probably have to be, or parameters that should be vetted a little bit to give an even stronger perception. I don't know enough about office space, I'll be honest. But it's clear we've grown in those pieces, but how do we balance in our new world and our new context as we go forward? So I'm not sure so much of a as sort of this is the steps that I see from a value statement of setting things. Because I do think there are some interesting platforms coming out for more interactive training concepts. Actually, conferences are doing it, so there's a lot being developed that does provide that interaction and off-site concepts, and I think that's an opportunity we have to think about as this gets looked at as well. So
yeah, I can talk a little bit about your questions. Hopefully I hit all of them. I think you had three or four points in there that I think they're all great, all great points. So your first question was about, or comment was about the 300 square foot threshold. So I mean, there is some arbitrariness to that number, but I think we're basing that on both the data that we gathered from other school districts, having conversations with those school districts about how they're operating, how does that compare with Lake Washington School District, and is it working for them? We saw a wide variety of office space, small, medium, large conference space that Brian went through that's related to how those districts operate. And I think we would need to have a deeper conversation, the next step basically with Lake Washington School District to understand how does your original facility relate to how you're working now, and is that a trend basically that we would like to just simply continue the relationships that you've had, your conference room, your office space, to your open office space, or are you looking at revising the way that you operate and have those relationships? And that also ties back to your question about online versus in person. And I know that John and Barbara have comments to make on that, so I'll leave that to them in a moment. The other piece that you had related to tech, I think that we wanted to include that because tech's such a big part of the region. I know everyone has family, friends that operate in that environment, and so we thought that was good information to have and a good discussion point. Technical offices operate very differently in school districts. One thing is they outsource a lot of their facilities, right? So HR departments, things like that. A lot of times with tech companies are outsourced, marketing departments, things like that. But also the privacy needs of school districts are very different. I've been doing school district work for 20 years, and it's almost like you're building a small town inside a school district, right? Because you're handling a lot of that in-house. So the privacy needs, even department to department, are widely varied, and that's very different than a typical tech company kind of office space that we're seeing. So I think that's part of the contrast that we're seeing between open office huddle space in the tech companies versus the more private office and larger conference spaces that we're seeing in school districts in general. I don't know if I hit all your questions. You're on mute. Sorry, Thierry.
I was saying that was very helpful in being able to see that component, because that was the piece that did not come through clearly. So I appreciate that explanation. Thank you.
No problem. And Barbara and John, do you want to talk about work from home versus and kind of online training versus in-person training?
Yes, and I don't think we have a fully vetted, articulated plan for how we're going to respond to what we've just learned over the last 8 to 10 months. But I think another aspect of being a school district is we're a people business, and that goes for every department here at in the school district. And so there's this balance of being service oriented, available for people as they walk through the door, whether that's our 4,500 staff members that need to connect with human resources, business services, payroll, benefits. Oftentimes those things are when someone comes through the door, that's a one-on-one interaction that they're having with someone here at the resource center. When you think about our staff needing to connect with our professional learning specialists, if they're coming on site, they're hoping to find that person that can provide them with the curriculum resources, the supports that they're looking for. And so kind of the people side of this is an important layer to add on to this. And so, that's another consideration that we'll have to make. We do have some highly technical positions that they're not interfacing with people as much as others. And so I think we need to be thoughtful about how our employees have learned to work remotely, because there were departments that all of us thought could never work remotely, and they've been able to figure out their kind of procedures and things like that off-site, even though they're a highly engaged and interactive department. Now, that doesn't mean that we want them to be in this space forever, because we value that interaction that they're having for problem solving, relationship building around some really difficult questions that they receive from either parents or staff. So that's just kind of as we think about this, we've learned so much, and we haven't applied kind of a process moving forward for how that's going to impact what we're talking about today. It will, to a degree, and I also know the training piece with the professional learning management system that we adopted a couple of years ago. We've leveraged that greatly over the last 6 months, 8 months, 10 months to provide training for staff. It also allows for a layer of accountability for tracking and things like that. So that's a piece of our training plan that will impact space needs. Just the Teams platform in and of itself has allowed us to reach staff and have meetings in ways we really weren't thinking about previously. And we know there are times where it is most beneficial to get people together, not just for the content of the meeting, but it's about getting to know one another, relationship building, team building as a district.
Absolutely. So just as this plays out and with the conversations, you think 5 to 10 years out, we have lots of change of digital that's going to happen. So we have to be thinking how we do that going forward and planning in that process. So my concern is we have a past, we have a current, but the future is where we have to be targeting to where we're going to be at some point. And I do think some of that is the pressure then to how do you design what you do and how do you do what you do in order to pressure the direction to go. So our students are going to be well versed in digital environment. They're living it now, they're doing it, and and so our staff eventually, as we build through, that will be the reality too. So I appreciate the current. I also look to the 5 to 10 years out of where we need to go.
And I can also say that, given our 76 square mile district, that in typical times, traffic is a huge impact. And so it just makes sense to leverage a remote space for, many of our training responsibilities, because, a staff member after, the workday isn't driving for an hour to get to a training, to sit in a training room where, potentially there isn't as much collaboration, and then they drive, an hour to get home. Well, we could have just reduced 2 hours potentially of that commute by having a remote meeting. It's being thoughtful around that as well, just given the landscape that we have here in our district.
No, thank you.
Mark, you have your hand up.
Thank you. There's a perception / misperception, I think, among our public, our parents, that we're more staff heavy than this district or that district or whatever. I mean, I think it's the nature of the beast. People think that. Do we have a feel for how many admin staff, if you will, we have per student versus Bellevue, North Shore? I'm thinking that might play into the justification for increased space or not. I'm just kind of spitballing, but I'm curious as to what we have in that respect, especially when they keep saying more teachers, less staff, or less admins.
Yeah, and I'll let, if Barbara has that data in front of her, I'll let her speak to it. What I know is that on an ongoing basis, as a percent of our overall budget, we are one of the leanest administratively staffed district as compared to other large school districts. And that's not just administrators, that's the overall district operations and administration. And so Barbara, if you have a more granular level of detail, or we can just provide that to the board as follow-up.
Yeah, we can provide that. It's around 5.3 or something percent if I remember, but we can get an update based on current information.
John, I think that's an important fact that the public needs to know when we go out for bonds, levies, whatever, just so that we can start dispelling that misperception.
Any other, Sarah, your hand's still raised. I don't know if you have another question. No, okay. Maybe? It's going up and down. Now it's down again. Okay, any other questions for the presentation so far? No. Okay, thank you. Is there anything further on this topic?
There is. We've got one more short presentation. So thank you, Brian. Thank you, Jason. And now we're going to bring into the space Mike Free, and Chris Matthews is with us as well. They are from Facility Planning Services. And Mike, I'm going to let you introduce yourself and your company. But what they did, as opposed to, so JPC, we had them look at office space. So what Mike did with his team is they really looked at, within our support services, within our warehouse, how do we optimize our shop space and our warehouse space, kind of the workflow. So Mike's going to just do a quick 10-minute presentation and have time for questions regarding some optimization work that they did.
Very good. Thank you, Barbara. I will share my screen here, and hopefully everyone can see this.
Yep, we can see it.
There?
It's there.
Again, thank you, Barbara, for that introduction. Mike Fry with Facility Planning Services. And Chris Matthews. Chris is a project engineer that worked on this project and really did the heavy lifting. But I'll walk you through first a brief intro to Facility Planning Services. We're an industrial planning service provider, and we focus in 3 areas: warehousing and logistics operations, manufacturing and repair maintenance operations. And we really bring a focus to looking at process flow, equipment arrangement, and how that affects space optimization and labor utilization. We bring quite a bit of experience working with public institutions, public utilities, and municipalities. For example, Seattle Public Schools, we've done a very similar project with Central Kitsap Public Schools, Seattle University are some examples there. So today we were asked to look at optimizing storage and shop space in the support services complex. And to do that, we established objectives. We did a baselining of the current space, how things work and flow today, how well we utilize space, and what our issues, deficiencies are. With that base data, we looked at alternatives to improve space and equipment and utilization, and ultimately we'll flesh out recommendations, and that involved the support services building, Willows Annex, and associated shops. To touch on objectives, okay, on the surface, to optimize support services shop and warehouse. And again, how do we do that? Is analyzing existing, looking at alternatives, layout, processes, space, and developing recommendations with the district. We really want concurrence, that the solutions and the people that live in that space embrace and understand the benefit, and they'll make it work. Okay, I wanted to provide some orientation to the space, and I think some of the slides JPC provided focused on both the support services facility and the Willows Annex. You can see that on the site all of our bus parking, the bus wash and fueling, and how that relates to the transportation maintenance area, main warehouse space that supports the schools that ship out of this east side of the facility, our facility shops and grounds crews and the yard space that they use, and then our annex, which supports some of the overflow storage. A blow up on those, we can see how we've boiled down 70,000 square feet. Again, the main warehouse. The facility shops include HVAC shop with electrical and plumbing, carpentry shop, paint shop, and the grounds crews. And then in the annex building, another little over 22,000 square feet, special services, file storage. There's really a lot of overflow and mixed storage here. The nutrition group has storage and shelving, and then a lot of furniture, surplus furniture that's maintained here. Currently, the technology group has quite a bit of storage as they've rolled out more equipment to support the remote learning. So in analyzing the shops and the space and storage areas, we really looked at detailed process flow. This is an example of some of the diagrams that were developed to look at flow. and allow us to then develop recommendations to improve, to streamline, and better utilize our space. Again, part of the baselining, as I've touched on, included looking at the current storage cube utilization. So we established available cube and utilization factors for all of the areas, and we looked at all of the storage systems and storage type. How is that space allocated? Over 30% is record storage, and then you can see curriculum, frozen goods and dry foods goods, technology group, print shop, custodial, furniture, and so on. And we developed projections then for storage requirements. So again, the blue bar, we've got existing, we've got our growth and right sizing of that existing space, and that defined a target pallet positions for each of the functional areas that we've talked about here. And just to recap some of the interview sessions, again, all of the groups that we talked with are listed, and the objectives in those discussions was really to understand, how do we operate today? What works well? We don't want to lose that recipe, but where are your challenges? Where are the deficiencies that challenge you every day? We talked about how do we correct current space so it works well today, and then we looked at how do we overlay growth requirements. People are pretty good to understand what they need in the coming year to 2 years. A little more of a projections to get a longer term range. But we did discuss 5 to 10 year projections, as well as staffing and other support space that comes into play. Common issues that we found really with all the groups. A lot of the storage equipment is near end of useful life. There's less storage capacity than what our need is. So there's a lot of storage in the aisles, a lot of double handling and impact to labor utilization that falls out of that. A lot of areas where my storage is not co-located to near where my operational group is. So again, inefficiencies that come out of that. And we found some, especially with the shops were siloed from one another, which reduced communication and coordination as they take on work orders and deploy their crews for the day. So targets for the warehouse optimization, I think the number of items listed here, but the solutions that came out of this was that there's not a need for additions or major remodeling. However, opportunity to improve the storage systems. It was about better racking and storage for palletized goods, better material handling vehicles that will support and optimize use of the aisles, and improvements to adjacency and space allocation. Some of the material storage and handling components that we've looked at and are recommending be implemented are multiple depth storage rack. You may be familiar with racking where it's 1 pallet deep. There are systems where we can store 2 deep, where we don't need the selectivity, so we can improve density. There are opportunities with furniture storage, for example, to store up. This is an order picker vehicle, order selection vehicle, where the operator rides up to the storage levels. Most of the furniture, surplus furniture today, is stored on the ground level. And operationally, we've talked about opportunity to purge surplus furniture on a more frequent basis to reduce the overall need. In addition, there's some flow through storage systems that will enhance first in, first out. Very great application for our food service groups and how we handle that. And again, that operator up order picker when we're picking case goods, science kits, textbooks is an application where that can come into play. Now, I touched on alternatives, and this is an option, example of the options that were brought to the table and are under review. This is the main warehouse. We're illustrating a large freezer, new racking that incorporates flow through racking, and then improved storage and adjacency to our curriculum groups, our print shop, and our fleet maintenance, which ties back to our transportation area. And one of the keys to being able to do that in the main support services facility is that we're proposing to move all of our record storage to the annex and adding storage racking to store records in a more dense environment. And we're adding more storage for nutrition services, better organization of the special services storage, and consolidation of furniture storage there. Okay, now that covered most of the warehouse space. The shop and production space, again, there were optimization targets, and I've touched on better co-locating our groups. There is a need to expand the print shop to support they have growth and new equipment they're planning to bring in. And the grounds crew, for example, opportunities to better protect our assets, our equipment that's parked in the yard, to improve life and to improve their operational areas. Now, I touched on the print shop and the curriculum group being relocated. This is a potential layout for the expanded print shop. It moves to the area that curriculum currently occupies, as well as facility storage, which is being recommended to be relocated. And that allows curriculum to move into this space where they have a great adjacency to their storage of textbooks and science kits and the components they use to build those science kits. Okay, and continuing with the shop space, the facility shops, one of the main things I mentioned that they challenged by being siloed from one another is we're proposing a new shops crew space. That's really a muster space where the groups can assemble in the morning. They can check emails, get work order assignments, get good cross communication between the disciplines before they go back out to their individual shops, carpentry, HVAC, paint shop, and so on. And this is the reconfigured facility storage that was displaced in order to improve the print shop and curriculum areas. Fleet maintenance, their storage is adjacent to the shops. We're proposing some improvements to access to that will just reduce steps and improve their operational efficiencies on a day-by-day basis. That adds up over time. The grounds crew, I mentioned some of a new mudroom to improve their ability to they come back with wet boots, wet overalls and rain gear. There's a mudroom allows that to be hung and dried overnight so that they're good to go the next day. Improvements to their exterior shop area and a new lift for their mowers, maintenance of the mowers. It would really enhance their operation. And this is the grounds yard where we're proposing a new canopy above a portion of that yard, again, to store equipment, hydraulics that are out in the weather. Again, we want to protect those assets, improve the life of that equipment, and the ability of the crews to store, organize, and dispatch to their daily activities. Some examples sanders are a good example. Having that undercover, the sand undercover in those winter months when we need to sand parking lots and drives at the schools, having sand that's wet and frozen is a tremendous challenge. So having those components undercover, organized well so we efficiently use the space. And this is an example of that, a mower lift for improved maintenance on the mowers. So as we've gone through these options, there's a range, again, primarily equipment, racking, and material handling vehicles, 1.9 to 2.1 million. And as I touched on, the district's working through evaluation of the options that we presented to reach final recommendations. So that concludes our presentation, and we're ready for any questions that you may have.
And Brian, I don't know if you want to speak to anything. I'll just follow up as well. I don't know if the mic is causing an echo for me, but so as Mike said, that they quickly, just to show you example options, but they've actually presented to Brian and his team multiple options that are being reviewed and working on, and there's costs with each of those options. So kind of next steps will be kind of looking at those options, determining the preferred option, and working through changes in time frame, and again, funding would potentially come out of the capital projects levy.
Director Stewart, do you have any? It looks like you have a question.
Yes, and I'm not sure it really belongs with the consultants or really for Barbara. Couple of questions. The print shop and the expansion of a print shop, as much as we do digitally, how much are we really generating in printing, and for what? I'm used to the old day when you had a print shop that for a company that would take up an entire floor. So I'm just wondering if that's our capacity is downsized or not, really.
And again, that was one of the options. Mike, do you want to just address quickly kind of what some of your findings were for our current print shop? You're muted.
Yes, I would defer that to Chris. Chris, can you respond to the print shop growth requirements?
Yeah. So print shop is, when we interviewed the print shop supervisor, what he conveyed to us was that, at the beginning of the year, they do a major printing, actually over through the summer months, a major printing of all the workbooks that the students will be using.
Okay.
So that's a major component for them. They're also going into large format printing. So when they print banners, they don't want to outsource that anymore. So they're bringing that in-house. So, they had this need to grow their equipment footprint. So in next year, they're bringing in a large format printer that's going to take up like a 16 by 20 work envelope to get these large banners that they're going to plot out. And then there's other items that they were talking about where, as technologies, improve, the copier machines that they bring in will actually have a little bit of a larger footprint because they'll be able to automate certain steps, but that takes up a larger footprint once they do that more automation within the line. Okay. So, their growth projection was to still meet those current demands, and then there's a 10% about growth in the, long-term growth of the district. So they wanted to meet that demand plus the new, services that they wanted to provide to the district.
We have a large need for banners.
This is, based off of what our interview showed us, was that the print shop manager was, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Barbara.
No, I'm sorry. Yeah. Go ahead. I think one of the things is they were interviewing each department, and they so shared with the consultants kind of their needs. Again, our next steps will be to go through all those needs and prioritize based on that what changes need to happen. So that was just, yeah.
Okay. In the studies that y'all are doing, is there any look at decentralizing, perhaps as spread out as we are, we're 75 miles? Does it make more sense, especially for a lot of the storage? Does it make it a faster delivery if we had 3 different areas? Perhaps, I don't know, to be quite frank, as we look at our new building and so forth, we should be looking at decentralizing or not.
I can take that again if you'd like, or Mike.
Yeah, go ahead, Chris.
So, I think the warehouse component, the storage materials component, there are options that you can decentralize different operations out. But, the key distribution point of like food services, technology, and other like curriculum items, because the drivers are the ones, are delivering out to the schools, they're also bringing back everything from the schools. And that we want to keep in a centralized location point. Because the drivers are also the ones that are picking from all the storage rack and consolidate everything and sending out. But then there is options or opportunity for items that aren't touched every day. Your quarterly touched items like record storage, or your yearly touched items like surplus furniture, that can be decentralized. And that's where we're optimizing, or we're recommending optimizing the Willows Annex, because that is kind of like your deeper storage that you aren't going to touch frequently.
The record storage, are we generating that much more record need now that most of the records are digital, or am I misunderstanding that we have that much more paper still, to be quite frank?
So we have, can I just respond to that? We still have a significant sets of paper that we are required by law to maintain. We have underway right now a digitization project for a couple of sets of records. And that's kind of our first initiation into taking, at this point, required documents, digitizing them, and then getting those records into an actual process to maintain them over time as digital-only records. But there are, laws around every student record that we keep, employee record, and they're all different. And so, so to answer the question, we have significant paper records that we're required to maintain, and to digitize all of our records is a pretty significant undertaking, but we've started that process with a smaller set of records to kind of learn what does it take to do that, and what is the staff time to then maintain it as a digital record moving forward, so we don't then revert back to those being paper records. But it's a great question. But yes, we have a lot of paper records.
As we're moving to that digitization, do we have any feel for how much bulk we are actually diminishing or not? Or is that yet to be seen, really?
So the first set of records that we're digitizing are, just to be transparent, employees that have left the district. So we call those termed files. So we know the exact square footage that we're going to save, but that square footage has really been in lieu of having staff workspaces here in the Resource Center. So by digitizing those records, we're actually gaining more space, more square footage for staff workspaces. And so, yep, we're going through all of those processes as well. We've just also added another high-density storage filing system here at the Resource Center so that we could also recoup some square footage on our second floor for more staff workspaces as well.
But that digitizing doesn't slow down our delivery process when we have requests for ROIs or whatever?
It actually would speed it up.
Good.
Because it's all...
One last question. Okay. One last question. I know a few years ago we had problems with complying with fire codes and such in our storage area. Are we past that, and that problem is no longer a problem?
I'll let Barbara answer that, but I also think some of what Mike presented allows us to maintain compliance with those. But Barbara, I'll let you answer.
Yeah, we have periods of time where we have product in our aisles, and again, the fire department requires our aisles are clear, and they're in the aisles at the time because we're transferring them they're coming in and we're shipping them out within a short period of time. But we do need more storage space or more, capacity so that we can maintain those requirements. So,
thank you.
Cassandra, Director Sage.
Thanks. I just wanted to acknowledge that a lot of work goes into this type of planning. I've been on several task forces for Children's Hospital on where do you put things that make the most sense so you can have just-in-time care. Literally, we are walking how many steps it takes to get from one place to another and then back to a patient room. So I very much appreciate the innovative ways of looking at this situation and trying to find ways that we haven't yet utilized moving forward to create some of that space that we need.
And on that point, Eric, is okay if I just jump in here? I also think about, to Mark's question earlier around kind of percent of overall administration, one of the ways that you can maintain a reduced administrative profile is by having efficient systems, kind of what Cassandra was speaking to, having your work equipment, tools, storage, all of that within proximity to your workspace. All of that leads to efficiency, which allows us to maintain hopefully as minimal an administrative footprint as possible, but it also leads to greater staff morale. When you have a workspace that allows you to do your best work. And so I think it's both of those things. I think what Mike and team evaluated was what occurs over a long period of time with significant growth, and things get put into places where they fit for now. But this is really, how do we think about the current space overall and really do a reset for efficiency, but also for our staff and their working conditions.
And we haven't done a deep dive. This building was built in 1977, so we're very excited to have Mike and Chris come in and kind of give us some methods for improving that.
I think it's more of a thought than a question. When I think about all of our various capital needs over the next 10 years, 20 years, and what the values that have been expressed by the community and the board, for that matter, are, when I think about staff space, I mean, there's one way of thinking about it is what would be, if we were to really do what is optimal, there's one level of service, and then there's, what would be tolerable for the next 10 years. And I think that if you think about what we're going to have, what we will be investing money in or what the value of the community is for what we invest money in, it's classroom space, and not staff space. And we may have to think about this more on what is going to allow us to continue operating, what level of space and capacity and investment at the staff level is going to allow us to keep operating, what is ideal. And we're probably going to be closer to the former than the latter. It's just, I think when I think about what we're going to be able to use our money on. So it's not a question, it's just a thought that I've been wrestling with. Because a lot of the presentation tonight is, okay, if we really were going to do this right, what would it look like? And I get that. I just think that that's potentially unrealistic, or I think that is unrealistic.
And I think what we asked both of these teams to do was give us a set of data to understand the current situation in relationship to industry standards or comparatives, knowing that then we get to take that and to make meaning of it. There's for staff space and working conditions, there's some additional elements that we've learned over the last year and applied, and so that will also play into this. When I think about our support services and warehouse space, we're actually probably more at the point of a critical need than we are with staff space, particularly because the majority of staff aren't working in the resource center right now, and so we're going to transition folks back over the next period of time to see what that looks like and feels like, and that will also give us an idea of what it looks like moving forward. What you don't see in terms of staff space today is a number or an ask or a dollar amount, where you did see that with the support services space. And I think that kind of tells you the level of critical need in those two spaces right now. But knowing that our staff space, we just have to be thoughtful of moving forward, because as we look at the resource center, if we are fully occupied, which we will be again here at some point, there's people working in spaces that truly aren't meant for staff to be working.
Yeah, I get it. Director Bleasner, as soon as I stopped talking, your hand shot up. So what I do wrong?
No, actually, I just wanted to say I appreciated actually getting the ideal of getting that whole piece. That's helpful, especially as we look at the context, because that's the challenge of the work, right? Is how do you balance all that within the budgetary parameters that are going to come forward out of that as well. So appreciated your summary of that and putting that out. And also this information, I think, helps to shape that conversation going forward. So I do appreciate all that work.
Any other questions, comments from the board? No? Okay. Great. Dr. Holman, Barbara, anything else on this presentation to add?
I will just add this. I know we don't spend a lot of time talking about non-direct student-related items. And so I just appreciate us taking the time to think about some of the other responsibilities we have as leaders in an organization, to think about all of our staff, that their work leads to efficient systems. They lead to staff actually having benefits, our lawns getting mowed, and schools being maintained. And so all of those are critical aspects to having a district that strives for excellence. And so thank you for taking the time to have that conversation today, because it's an important part of what we do, knowing that our core business is about educating children, and this is part of that. Barbara, did you have an additional comment as well?
I just want to say thank you to our presenters today. So.
Yeah, thank you for your time. And also I'll say, if you think of any other questions, I know we went through a lot of data today. So if anything else comes up, please pass it through. We're happy to continue the conversation and to provide answers as best we can.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you all. Have a great weekend.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Great. The next item I have on my agenda, it was not on the script I have, is for bond and levy planning. I'm assuming that we're still going, that remains on the agenda. And Dr. Holman, can you lead us through that?
Yes. And so at Monday night's board meeting, the board received the Facility Advisory Committee recommendations, and you'll take action on that at the February 8th meeting to accept those recommendations. But as you know, that Facility Advisory Committee work leads into our thinking about additional student space and what that needs. And so you heard the enrollment forecasts and kind of the thinking and methodology behind that. Earlier today, you received the Facility Advisory Committee recommendations on Monday night. And then what we know is our EP&O levy will be, and capital levies will be coming up, targeting February 2022. The recommendations of the Facility Advisory Committee and our projected growth also causes us to think about additional funding for facilities, which could potentially be a bond in February 2022. And so we just want to briefly talk about some of those elements today, knowing that over this next period of time is really us getting down to a more granular level of detail around both of those bond and levy topics. And so Barbara has a slide deck of maybe 8 slides or so, just to provide kind of a brief intro into this topic that we'll be doing significant work over the next 6 to 8 months on.
All right, it's coming up right now. Should be sharing. There we go. All right. Okay, so we just have 6 slides to just talk about bond and levy. So I wanted to go over bond and levy timeline. It's hard to believe, but it's a year away from February 22 when we have to renew our EP&O and our capital projects levy need to be renewed every 4 years. And so we wanted to kind of go over kind of the major milestones that need to happen between now and February 2022. So right now, so I'll just jump right in to talk about kind of the work that we are doing right now. Our staff have been, our technology department, Sally Assman and her team, and Brian and his team, they are working on kind of the detailed, working on preliminary recommendations and needs and assessing the needs for technology and capital facility needs that go into the capital projects levy. And so we are also, Chris Brennigan in our business services department, and we're working on looking at collection limits and all the data with our assessed valuation and tax rates. So that's the work we're doing right now. The Facility Advisory Committee recommendations have been presented to the board. And so then in February, again, continuing looking at tax rate, Shannon and her team are working on a communications plan, and then we will start to refine our draft recommendations for our capital projects levy and EP&O levy. Our plan is to come to the board in March to take a deeper dive at our study session in March, to take a deeper dive on our process, our timeline, and the preliminary recommendations. And so that we can then get feedback and start to refine, create our final recommendations. And then we have always had a bond and levy advisory committee where we bring a group of staff, community members, business members, parents together and do a bond and levy advisory committee. And so we have them, we present to them kind of our recommendations for all levy, a capital projects levy, and then if there's a bond, and putting the package together and getting their feedback on what the package would look like and tax rate implications. And so we plan on having those meetings in May, and then the third meeting in June. And in between, we would have a board study session to get feedback, based on kind of what we're hearing from the Bond and Levy Advisory Committee, and then get feedback from the board and then share that at that third meeting. And then in August, we would continue to have, or we would have a board study session kind of to finalize the recommendations. So then in October, so again, the beginning of next school year, starting in September, but in October, we would bring the final recommendations to the board for our 2022 bond and levy. And then at that point, you launch the information campaign and begin sharing the information with our community, putting things on our website, and further refining data on our website in November. We have to select the voters pamphlet committee in November. December 10th is our final deadline. So this October timeframe for the board meeting recommendations, that's kind of follows the process we did in 2018, but the final deadline to approve and submit a resolution to King County is early December. And then December is when we're doing the PTA and community group presentations, and then we mail information to our community. And then in January, we continue our PTA and community group presentations. We hold open houses. We can do a Teams live event. And we've learned a lot this year in how to hold live events. And so we can continue that knowledge with that. And so the election day for February is February 8th, 2022. Of course, there are other times you can put measures on the ballot, such as April, August, or November. So those are other options for bonds as well, and potentially EP&O could be, delayed until April. It's not the normal time frame for all school districts is to do a February election for that. So that's a timeline. Any questions on the timeline before Siri?
So just the piece that I don't see here is when ballots actually drop, when they get mailed, because that's about 3 weeks prior. So I'm a little concerned about this group presentations not being until January, knowing that the ballot should drop probably about mid-January.
So thanks. Good question. The ballots do typically drop, third week in February. We can get the date, and obviously I'm giving the high level overview, and we will have a master calendar of all of those specific dates. But we actually start our presentations in December, and so once the board approves the resolution, again, if that happens in October, we can immediately launch our information campaign, and we can immediately start doing presentations to our community. So it doesn't just happen.
I missed that. I should have read that a little closer. My mistake.
That's all right. Any other questions on timeline?
Director Stewart.
Thank you. Barbara, as you're putting into your considerations, are we trying to create as much of a gap in between remote learning, COVID times, and the need to go out. I'm afraid that we're going to get some backlash there because of the sentiments between in-house, out-of-house, co-teaching, whatever. You see where I'm going? I'd like to be able to separate that out a little bit to let people's temperament calm down, cool down. But I don't know if that plays into it at all, or if the need outweighs that.
Yeah, I mean, we are required, and when you say separate, I'm not sure what time frame you're talking about, but we are required to renew our 4-year levies. So they provide, our EP&O provides 15% of our funding for our general fund. So you can't, if you delay that a year, then you will lose 15% of your funding. So you can't delay that much. And that's the same with our capital side. So I think that's part of our communication plan that we will need to, just share the message about why these funds are important. Because as we know, even in remote learning, our costs have actually gone up. They haven't decreased in remote learning. So.
Okay. No, I wasn't suggesting by a year. I was just trying to edge us out as far as we could.
All right. I will go to the next slide. Then the next, I just wanted to show, sorry, I don't know why that has there's a click to add text in there that got in there somehow, but this is our tax rate slide. You've seen that in prior presentations, just shows our, shows our tax rate over time. And obviously the decisions we make about our bond and levy will be made based on informing our tax rate. So we monitor, we don't have our final assessed valuation for the 2020 calendar year, which will inform the 21 rates. So as soon as we have that, I will update this slide. So what we have done in the past, or we've shown a long-term plan to keep our construction bonds plus our 6-year levy at a level tax rate of $1.13. But what we also know is we are, if you remember in 2018, we reduced our EP&O. We asked for less due to McCleary. And so we actually have the capacity to ask for more EP&O funds. And so that's something, our bond and levy committee will be, we will be talking with them about, but there is capacity there to ask for additional EP&O funds. And then again, our capital levy is the orange, and that has stayed level over this time. But again, we know the needs don't go away. Our technology needs are increasing, especially with our, having one-to-one computers for our K4 students, that added to our technology costs as well. So just wanted to share that. John, did you want to say anything more about?
No, and I think the information that we'll discuss in March will provide a number of different scenarios and options and considerations around bond, but also levy as we think about moving forward and our goals as a district, the outcomes we're looking for, and how do we accomplish those.
Yeah, we will bring different scenarios about how, different scenarios and how that impacts our tax rate in March. Then the other two slides I wanted to share is, as the facility advisory presented their project recommendations, and I think the question was asked about costs. What are the costs? And we did share this information. This was part of this survey. So the next two slides show the different phases and the costs. And this was actually shared in the community open house survey when we asked the community about whether we should do this in one phase. Here's what it would cost in 2 phases or 3 phases. So I just wanted to outline the, kind of the tentative costs right now for the Facility Advisory Committee recommended projects for phase 1 and phase 2. So these are our phase 1 projects. So just showing, and these cost, Brian and our OAC team that currently does our construction projects, they developed some estimates. And so these, in the next 2 months, we'll be doing kind of a second review, kind of a peer review on ensuring that these estimates are, the right numbers. But these are kind of the costs of the projects in the first phase. We have put in, so again, the total projects is about 328 million. We know we need additional, because these are not only their estimates, they're based on 2022 costs. So we know that by the time you vote on a bond and actually build the project, there's construction escalation. And so we've put funds in there for not only program contingency, but for inflation escalation. And then we have a need, we also put a need for future property if we need to purchase a property for a new elementary, and then property in phase 2 for other new buildings. And so we wanted to put funds in there for future property. So that's phase 1. And we also are showing kind of the permanent capacity added. So you'll see on the rebuild and enlarge, this is not the total capacity of the school. So Kamiakin would be built for 900 students. Alcott would be built for 690. But this would be the capacity added because we'll be enlarging those schools. Eric?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm hesitant to raise this, but one number jumps out at me, and that is the cost of the new choice school in Redmond Eastlake. It seems low, I guess, surprisingly low. Okay, anyway, is it correct? Is that number correct?
I mean, again, it's based, because you're not building the core space for a choice school is slightly different. We don't build. Yeah, so we don't build out full, gyms like we do in a comprehensive school. And so, but again, we are, doing a peer review on all these costs, and we'll make sure that, that is the right amount.
Okay, I'll hold my other questions to the next.
Okay.
I just have one more slide. Director Stewart, do you have something on this slide, or can it wait?
Yes, sir, I do.
Okay, go ahead.
One question: is it possible, Barbara, for us to start looking at separating out the field house from the pool when it comes to a renovation? And the idea that I know the community use of the field house is a major use. The pool might be seen by some folks as gee, I'd love to have it done, but. So if we could do that, separate those two out, because I'd love to see the field house updated.
We can bring that information to you in March, and get the breakout, because that is exactly, our consultants came in and broke out the details and how much is mechanical, how much is, locker room improvements, and so we can break that out.
Thank you.
All right, the last slide is just showing the projects in phase 2. So we've got a middle school, 2 elementary schools, a new elementary in the Lake Washington area. And these are, I'm sorry, not a new elementary, 2 early learning centers, so preschool space in Lake Washington and Juanita. And then Choice High School, and then additions on 2 schools. So, and the idea when we broke out the phases was that the second phase is right now, based on 2020 amounts, is slightly lower cost than the first phase. Now, again, once this we don't know what year the second phase will be, so those will all need to have inflation on those, and we have built in some construction escalation, but depending on when this phase happens, those numbers may change. And then we also designed the 2 phases to, again, address the capacity needs and aging facilities the capacity needs where we needed the capacity most. I'll just go back to this slide, such as Redmond, and we know high school, and then dealing with our aging facilities, but also looking at the projects and distributing the best we can so that we have projects in, the 1E area, the Redmond area, the Lake Washington area, and the East Lake area. So that's also distributing the projects across the district as best we can. So, Cassandra?
Just a quick question on the early learning centers. Does that amount include, are we thinking about land purchases to build these, or are we thinking about these as additions on existing school district property?
It could be either, right? So we haven't determined the exact spaces. We do know that, one of the things the Facility Advisory Committee learned and we shared with them is when you rebuild Kamiakin, for example, that will allow us to have some additional space on that property to maybe build some preschool space there or build, a smaller choice program there. We know there's there's extra space on the Rose Hill Elementary campus. So you could put a preschool center there. And so we have preliminary designs for the Rose Hill, space layout for the Rose Hill area school to do that as well. So it also could be purchasing property or putting preschool classrooms in the lower level of a 8-story apartment complex, right? Those options could be considered as well. Or some kind of partnership. Go ahead.
And it would be net gain permanent capacity of 276 for each, or would it be we will move students from a preschool location that is older and put them in a newer facility?
Yeah, the intent, how that permanent capacity number was calculated was basically if right now we have our preschool classrooms in many of our elementary schools. So if those are moved to a new elementary, then that would free up capacity in our elementary schools. So it's really creating capacity for K-5 or K-12 students. And then.
So it's not that we expect, we're going to have, 530 new preschool students. We're expecting to sort of centralize.
Yeah, and that's a great question. It really frees up classroom capacity for our K-12. But we can get that. Obviously, when we get to that point, we would provide details of how much space and students would be served by the preschool program versus then how much would it free up for our elementary schools.
Anecdotally, I've heard a lot of parents wishing that they could get in a preschool program. So at some point, it might be nice to try and find out, how do we know who would really be interested?
Mm-hmm. All right, Ceres has her hand up.
Yeah, so I just have a few questions, and so this is sort of tying all those different pieces together. So from the recommendations, there was one piece, the addition. So I'm just even looking as we go through this. You have Evergreen Middle School being built or expanded and shows permanent capacity going up only by 79. Mm-hmm. And I don't remember how much land. So has there been? My only thought is you look at that. Could that be a place where the choice school for a high school goes on, which is actually in the first phase? And in some regards, this is that whole piece of. We have this, you have the two high schools and we do have much significant growth. And the problem I see here actually as I look at this is I don't believe Kamiakin Middle School getting larger will necessarily take off any pressure at Redmond Middle or at Inglewood Middle and up on the Ridge. And those are still very significantly large. My other concern is the addition at Redmond High School. I would be highly concerned if we actually did that, just due to the size of these schools already. We had talked a lot about priorities of being under 2,000. This sets it to be significantly over that. And that is a policy level shift. And I'm not sure I'm in agreement with that shift, especially with traffic issues that come to that, things that get pulled. And so I'm not sure where availability of land is going to play into some of these as well. So those are, and I think in that first piece in phase 1, thinking about what urban options do we also have and making those clear as we go forward. This is actually an 8-year plan. Actually, it's more 12. And so I think of the presentation on enrollment that we just had, we're seeing elementary school remaining flat for the most part, as they put in. It wasn't shifting. And it's middle and high school where we have a lot more push coming in. So is there a way that we might want to rethink that piece as well in regards to that? So I think there's just more digging into as you speak about, and we do have all these other moving contexts. Marymore Village and light rail coming in down there, that's going to be significant. I know you have a Redmond Elementary that's listed on that first piece. That seems like a perfect urban design concept and step to move in now. So I guess those are the pieces that as I watch it. So I appreciate the balancing between these. You're working at about 400 million on each one of these. Mm-hmm. I'm also concerned about it's another 8 years and actually 12 by the time it gets completed.
Absolutely.
And
yep.
That's the piece of, and so, can you put a capital levy in between it at some point when the 6 years goes off? So there's just my concern is there's a little more urgency potentially.
And that was, again, as you heard from the facility advisory committee, they had lots of conversation about one bond and get it all done in one fell swoop because of the urgency with the capacity needs and versus breaking it out into two and so that was a conversation and we can continue to, look at those recommendations in March. And
Barbara, can I just add to that real quick?
Absolutely.
I think, Siri, what you're bringing up now are exactly the types of different scenarios that we will bring in March to just try and provide as many pathways as we can for consideration to allow us to then be creative as we think about when we get down to brass tacks, what are we actually going to put forward? We've actually thought through, what does a levy strategy look like? If we were to only do levies, what does a single bond strategy look like? But if we do a single bond strategy, does that actually give us a different timing for project delivery, or is it the same timeline, just we've just truncated the bond campaign into a single campaign versus two campaigns? If we wanted to shorten the timeline for the build out, then what does that do to the tax rate? So those are all of the different iterations we're thinking about as well that we'll bring in March as we think about that. What you just added was a levy in between these two, which that I hadn't thought of that one yet.
So the only piece as well is then, do you have clear enough, at least direction of the sorts of types of values or parameters that the board wants to ensure come forward in that March piece? So I guess I would lay out to you, I want an idea about urban, actually putting something into an urban setting that is, and what that impact would be and what would we do? The options with funding and financial pieces and how that could be different. So I guess those are, and I don't know if other board, Mark laid his out sort of, how's the pool spread out and that piece. Is there going to be any request for staff or any of those pieces? Will that need to come into these bonds at all at this point or no?
So, and Barbara can, if she was thinking differently about staff spaces than I was, our intention was to keep these two bonds focused on student capacity.
Okay. That's good to know, just sort of how this all plays out.
Or student spaces. I guess the Juanita High isn't capacity, but space.
And I'm just following up. So there's two other on past things. So for the levy piece as well, I know we've had to break out the levy, if I remember right, in the way that you do budget at this point, that you have to say where it gets spent, it gets reported. It would be great to see that at some point, sort of how that breaks out. Remind me with one of the pieces, I do believe there was discussion with rebounding choice school at Evergreen Middle School, or at least a choice program of some kind. I'm not sure where that has finally ended up, if it's still in the pike. I mean, pandemic hit, lots of things changed with the pandemic. But I'm just trying to follow up on some of those past pieces as well would be beneficial.
Director Bleasner, anything else?
The only one other, sorry, the choice school piece of this, one of our biggest challenges we always have with this is that where are you going to assign it? What's it going to be? And when we don't have that prior to going, it seems to be one of the challenges that we end up with in the conversation. So the more we can talk about what that means, how it goes, how a decision would be made of what type, all those things, that would be good. I also think we have to tackle the equity issue with choice schools in that same time frame, because otherwise we are continuing the actions we've done going forward.
I agree with all of that. Director Carlson, your hand is raised, but I'm going to ask a quick clarification. I just want to make sure I heard something correct from Dr. Holman. Dr. Holman, did I hear you right that of the options that we presented to us, one of those options will be what it would look like to only build with levies, capital levies? Okay, yes. Good. I just want to be clear. Okay, thank you. Director Carlson and Director Stewart.
So I've always appreciated Siri's enthusiasm for urban schools. Urban school per se, big whoop, but to the extent that you've got Choice High School scheduled on the west side of the district, and that might require a creative revisualization of what a high school campus looks like, I'm good with it. And I just wanted to give you feedback that on the west side of the district, I appreciate this looks appropriate in terms of where the streams are happening. So I appreciate that as well. The only other piece that I'd have any curiosity about is there, if this comes through, then we have reboundaries that strike in the next few years pretty heavily. And I'm curious about how you're going to address that.
I can talk about that. As you know, we were, we're putting additions on some of our elementary schools in the Lake Washington, Lake Washington area. So we were planning on having a boundary process this year to be in effect fall. We're delaying that because of COVID. And so, the challenge with when we're growing as fast as we're growing is you will be having to do boundary processes as you open new schools or new spaces to balance. And that was part of the facility advisory recommendations, as well as is continue to, make boundary adjustments as needed. Obviously, we want to, do them as infrequently as possible, but we will need to do them as we build new spaces.
Yeah, that was actually the specifics of my question. I totally get it. New school, new boundary. Great.
Right.
What I was curious about is, are there additional boundary things that we think are going to be necessary, whether or not we build new fertility?
I mean, I think there will be, again, in the Lake Washington area, there will be, I have to look out again, and we can bring that in March to see if there's going to be any other, what timeline we think we might need boundary changes in the other areas, even without a new building.
Director Stewart?
Not sure, John or Barbara on this one, but as we've had discussions with the developers in Sammamish, both the downtown area or the urban area, do we have a feel for what is possible yet? I don't know. I know it's perhaps early, but it seems like they've been going on for a while. That how we might be able to leverage that to take some of the pressure off of the oversizing or the overcapacity of East Lake or Inglewood?
I think the short answer is no. We don't have specifics today. In our conversations, it's about trying to, we're kind of at the place where it's about, how do we think about what's going to occur, and how do we make the experience of those living there more in alignment with what kind of that urban model is projecting for. And so we're not at a place where we're talking siting and designs and schools and things like that. And so, so essentially, no, not yet.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions? Okay. John, Barbara, anything else on this topic?
Thanks for getting the ball rolling
Yeah.
and bringing, and I mean, that was a lot of information we got over the last week, honestly. So as we digest it, I'm sure there might be more questions that come out through this process. So appreciate those opportunities for those touch points along the way.
And I would also say, as things come up or interests you have for us to consider in March, feel free just to pass those along directly to me so that we can have those versus waiting for a formal opportunity to, ask questions or say this is of interest. Just pass those along so that we can continue to build out, our thinking for March so that it's a fuller conversation when we get there.
Okay.
You're muted, Mark. I think Mark's talking and he's
Okay,
muted.
Mark, you're muted if you have anything. Still muted.
Sorry, just when I hit that button. Okay, real quick, just FYI, you might want to take a look at Issaquah School District's last board meeting and the recorded talk about the fight with Sammamish. It was kind of eye-opening in some ways and kind of eye-shutting in another way. But just as FYI to get a feel for the temperature.
Great.
Okay, the last topic on the agenda for tonight is student success data review and question development. And we have 45 minutes or so scheduled for this presentation. Try to wrap it up a little bit after noon. Dr. Holman, can you get us started?
Great. And in board docs, there should be a file there which is full of student success indicator data. Much of this is information that the board has access to. Tim Krieger collated all of that into a single document for our use today. And so I don't have a PowerPoint presentation, but I think what would be helpful is actually if we walk through that document, and really the purpose of today is to provide that data to the board, but also
I don't see it either, Siri. Sorry, John, you're referring to a document that's not in the board doc.
Yeah, I can't find it either. I'm digging through. So either it's somewhere we don't know.
Yeah.
Let me see.
But I'm liking board docs, by the way. I like finding all my things there. And if it's not, you could just share it maybe, and we can walk through it that way, and then we can get access to it afterwards if that's easier.
Yeah, that might work.
Great, I will do that.
But you couldn't find it either? It wasn't
Well-
just me?
No,
I found it. I found it around midnight last night.
Yeah, I'm looking at
I
it
don't
too
know if
right now.
disappeared.
So
if
where
you-
did you find it?
So if you click on tab 5 under topics, it's called Student Success Data Review and Question Development.
I did.
And
Oh, you know what? Maybe I have to refresh. Let me try
yeah,
refresh.
well,
that.
and then in
still
the administrative content, there's a file called Data Overview for Remote Learning.
Nope.
Right there.
Hang on, I'm refreshing, seeing what happens.
Yeah, I tried that too. I'm
I
not.
logged out, logged back in.
Yeah.
So
I've got it up, but I might have loaded it last night and it's still up.
Yeah. Anyway.
Actually, it
That's
won't even
right.
let me, it's
I
asking
know.
me if I want to join the meeting.
That's weird.
Let me see if I can find the agenda.
Okay, and I just pushed send
Oh,
on
nope,
an,
I have it now.
I just pushed send on an email to the board, so you'll also have it in your inbox.
Excellent. That'll work.
You know what? Thanks. I just got it. I was able to refresh and find it again. Sorry.
Great.
I still haven't been able to get it that way. So great.
And so really today's discussion is in preparation for February 8th. And so at our last board meeting, there was, a discussion around, could we, have a full presentation today during this study session? And we just felt like to do this topic justice, we really want to give it adequate time, but also spend a little bit of time today going through these data and also hear from the board around when you see these data, what are additional questions that you have that you would like staff to respond to at our February 8th study session. And we know that these data, behind each of these sets of data are students, that some are succeeding, but we also know that some are not succeeding to the degree we want them to. And so there are actions and activities going on to be able to address issues of attendance, non-engagement, and student failure that are occurring that we'll be able to bring forward at the February 8th study session for discussion. The other side of the request for presentation was really around how are we addressing the social emotional learning and mental health needs of our students. And so that's going to be the other layer of that topic and that discussion, knowing that with all of this, it's Dale and his leadership in his division around school support services that addresses these things. It's Matt Gillingham in his division focusing on issues of race and equity, focused specifically on mental health direct support, social emotional learning curriculum and supports. And it's also Mike Van Orden and his team around teaching and learning curriculum resources and those pieces as well. So it's really a huge question that's being asked, and we want to make sure that at the February 8th study session that we have the right responses to the questions that the board has that you've already asked, but also given these data, are there other questions that the board has? And so for me, it would be helpful if we just walk through the 5 different data elements, starting with attendance first, which is that first section. And I'll just do a kind of my own review of this section, and then the board can comment on the data and then ask any additional questions for follow-up. I found it extremely interesting that all of our elementary attendance rates were above 90%. That to me is on some level of success, but I think it's also some level of parent supports that are provided to our elementary age students. As we look through all of these data, we're going to see that students that are from low income households, that are students receiving special education services, and our students that report being Black, African American, or Hispanic Latinx are continually experiencing lower attendance, greater rates of failure, and less engagement in Teams meetings and overall digital engagement. And so I think overarching, that is kind of a common theme that you'll see through this. When I look at the elementary group, one thing that jumped out to me that was something I didn't anticipate was actually our students receiving special education services are more in alignment with attendance rates to their peers. And for me, that was a bit of a surprise. Something that I wasn't anticipating. But then when you see the middle and high school data sets, you can see that not just for that group of students, but all of those groups of students that I just referenced, there's a substantial decline in middle school, and then again another decline moving to high school. And then also what jumped out to me is our students with Section 504 plans. Their attendance rates in high school seem to be a little bit more out of alignment in high school than they were with elementary or middle school. Additional observations around the data or questions that would be helpful to be answered at the study session around attendance?
just from a bigger piece, actually, is if you're seeing any differences between schools, honestly. It doesn't necessarily have to be laid out by every school, but even just a concept around that, because that could give some idea as well.
Great, thank you.
I don't have anything. Director Stewart?
John, is it possible to link where we have our grade problems and where we have our connectivity problems, if you will, to see if there's a relationship? I would assume there might be, but I don't know. And I don't know if it's even possible to do it. So I'm just asking.
Well, I will write that down. And I think what I will ask the team is, are there relationships between any of these success indicators that could help provide additional information around either a specific student population, specific school, outcome, things like that? So I think that's a great question.
I think it probably also relates to the socioeconomic status, probably. I could be wrong.
Yes. And,
thank you.
And really, for me, it would be looking at, the all-student group, but really all of these student categories to see if there's a relationship. So great point.
It would be useful for us to know if what strategies are being employed, given what you're seeing. So for instance, if we have a low percentage of students who are English language learners, or a lower percentage in high school, who are with their attendance rates. It would be nice to know, how are you reaching out to the students, or what strategies are staff using, and does it vary by building? And is one school perhaps doing better at re-engaging?
Director Bleasner and Director Stewart, you have your hands raised. Do each of you have something to add? Just jump in.
Sorry.
Great, just taking that note down.
Director Carlson, and then I have.
Well, actually, what I wanted to ask was quickly, is 12 o'clock a hard stop? Because I'm much more interested in sections 4 and 5 of this report. I don't want to give them a short shrift.
Yeah. Great.
No, not a hard stop. Dr. Homer, just real quick. For this attendance data, I guess I would just like to, a real high-level summary of how this compares to when we were in person last year with a similar demographic breakdown.
Great. Okay, why don't we move down to section 2? And I know I just skipped over 2 data sets. One was a data set, and it was our asynchronous days. We know that there is less attendance on our asynchronous days than our live instruction days. But the rates of attendance have a similar pattern. Looking at section 2 is average daily classroom Teams minutes for students. Again, you kind of see similar patterns to what was seen previously. And so anything specific to Teams meeting experiences that would help the board in the study session?
The biggest difference we see is in SPED. And I'm curious if that reflects SPED students receiving more in-person services.
And I know certain classes, for instance, my student had PE last semester. If you are meeting for 18 minutes to understand what your activity is, and then your, homework is to actually go out and do a map my run and then turn in a photo that showed how far you went, but they were only on Teams for 18 minutes. I think that kind of throws a wrench into your statistics there. They're still doing the work. The teacher just can't go outside with them.
Yes, and I guess I would also add to that, when we look at some of our other student groups, such as our students from low-income households, at 85 minutes, our Black African American or Hispanic Latinx students, at a similar rate as our students receiving special education services, it just begs the question of why the reduction in those team meetings minutes outside of what you just identified, because that's a very rational reason why a student wouldn't be in the Teams meeting. So that's all good points. Okay, moving down to section 3, digital engagement. Again, this is it's similar to section 2, but what digital engagement looks like is it's engagement on any of the Office 365 platforms, Teams, working in OneNote in the cloud. All of those pieces are counted as they collect this data. But again, you see these similar patterns occurring even within these data. Okay, and to Chris's point, sections 4 and section 5 are two different data sets. I believe you saw section 5 on Thursday in board briefs. Section 4 we put together specific for today. It's not semester 1 to semester 1 because semester 1 grades aren't finalized until this coming Monday. So we didn't feel like it would be an accurate reflection of what semester 1 truly will look like. We will actually bring that to the board at the February 8th meeting to do a true comparison of end of semester 1 2020 to end of semester 1 2021. And so it will be a little bit more of an accurate data set, but we wanted to provide some level of data for the board. And so we chose early January, so first day back to school in January, both 2020 and 2021, to get a snapshot of what student outcomes were looking like at those 2 points in time. I think what you see here, overall, there's a 5% increase in student failure rates at the middle school level, and at the all student group, as I'm just scrolling down here, is 4%, if I remember correctly, for high school students. But what's of note to me is the significant increases for a number of our student groups, which are significant and significantly beyond just that 5 percentage points. So I'll open it up for the board to comment on this and to ask any questions that they would have.
Yeah, everyone jump in.
I can just jump in. Is that what you said?
Go for it, Scott.
I'd be intrigued to know what courses, what subject areas are these failing grades? Are they math? Are they science? Are they language? Or is there no comparison? And similar to what Cassandra had said earlier, what currently is occurring to support them in this environment?
Yeah, and my reaction, my eye was drawn to middle school, perhaps because they just have fewer overall reporting, but the net result is it makes some of the differences really stark. Low-income households in middle school really disturbs me. That's a 15-point jump, and it's to a very high level.
So it'd even be possible if we can talk to some of the families, if you have time between now and then, just to get an idea.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Will you say more about that, Siri? I just want to make sure I capture that accurately with what you're
where you see some of these larger gaps of what's going on, have a conversation with those families or kids to say, what's up? How's it going? What are some of the challenges? We all know our lives impact our ability to engage in many different ways, and everybody's experiences are different. So is there something in that lived experience that we can help to support and change?
Yeah. And I agree. I think some of that qualitative data is what I'll call what Siri's asking for, can help us understand this better.
Well, and it's interesting if you look at who's choosing in-person versus remote as well. That next chart overlaid with this one aligns very effectively. Yes.
Given that we're looking at secondary students right now, I think finding out from students, what their impasse is and what would be helpful, again, is students are the focal point of all of our work.
And especially when we're phasing in early learners for in-person learning, not necessarily at this point, there's not a clear pathway yet for when older comes in. How does this potentially impact those concepts and those strategies going forward?
Thank you. I put another note down that you didn't mention, but as I'm thinking about it, how does our new grading guidance and updated procedure also then overlay with our student outcomes here related to failure rates? And if there are more incompletes than in previous year and things like that, how are we helping students then manage that? Because not getting an F is great, but an incomplete then means there's additional work, responsibility, and if you're already failing courses, you start your new semester, you have all of this work that needs to get done to remedy that incomplete. That's a piece of this as well in how we're going to support students. So,
anecdotally, from students and from parents, I have been hearing that, timely feedback is an issue. If a secondary student doesn't know that they missed a concept until a few weeks have gone past, especially in math, you build on concepts, right? And so, while I realize we are all working in this remote environment and working twice as hard as we probably ever did, the kids still have to have that feedback in order to learn. They've got to have it in order to learn. So I think that's also an important piece we need to look at.
That could be part of the conversations as we gather some of the qualitative data. I don't have a great mechanism just off the top of my head, maybe some of my team does, around how we would get a consistent kind of analysis of the feedback loop, but we'll do some thinking around that. But we can also add that as a question to our the qualitative data that we collect.
And it might be interesting if building principals can just let you know if they have heard from parents or students, because apparently people have been writing into their building admins. And maybe that will help inform.
Great, thank you. Okay, and as I scroll down to section 5, I also just want to comment on Tim Krieger and his ability to package data for us is remarkable and very timely. The rapid nature that he turns this around for us is pretty remarkable. So as we jump down to section 5, there's 2 different data sets for us to look at. First is, and it's all in relation to students and family selection for the transition in our elementary learning models, selecting either full remote or transitioning to in-person. The first set of data is really looking at our student groups, race, ethnicity, program participation, and also looking at students that are from low-income households or non-low-income households. You know, I know, so it was interesting, I'm on the WOBS board, and so this actually was one of the conversations that we had yesterday as a board was students selecting in-person versus remote. And there's many districts, well, every district that was present had a pretty unique set of data related to their district. There was no real consistency across the board with different groups selecting in-person versus remaining remote. And so that was of interest. That was Seattle Public Schools, Renton, Edmonds. So there's a pretty large variety of districts that were present. And so, you know, this is a unique data set to us here in district. You can see just race, ethnicity, significant differences of groups choosing either full remote versus in-person learning services. A unique aspect to our data is our students of color selecting, our Black, African American, Hispanic, Latino selecting in-person versus full remote. That actually is different than many other districts where they're seeing more of a similar pattern to what our Asian families selected, kind of that 70-30. That's more like what Seattle Public Schools is seeing with their Black, African American, and Hispanic Latinx populations. And then you can kind of see, you know, our students from low-income households. It's about a 60-40 split of families requesting in person. Students receiving special education, very similar pattern there. And then overall, we have more elementary families requesting full remote than requesting in person. And if you remember the October data set that we had around K1, it was about 60% of families requesting in-person learning services and 40% of families requesting full remote. So that's just kind of data set that's a few data sets that we have.
Well, it is very interesting that low-income households at 61% requesting in-person learning kind of sets the tone for other households. And I'm not sure what the difference is in other districts, but it's very clear that Latinx community, 63% requesting in-person learning. I mean, there's a reason. And when you break it out further by school, it's you know, thinking about our free and reduced lunch areas.
Right.
Yeah, so John, there's something a little bit weird about these numbers. Because if you just look by race, Asians are the only ones where you've got a greater fraction asking for full remote than if you just ask for all K-5 students, 71 versus 52. And Asians aren't that big of a population. The white proportion because there are plurality in the district, it seems unusual that they are the most extreme asking for in-person learning. So there's something a little bit fishy in these numbers, but I'm totally with Cassandra about the trend in low-income households is very much, that looks like this is why we need to go back to school kind of comment, that if those families are distressed and want to come back for in-person learning, we need to figure out how to do that quick.
Yep.
So the other two pieces, it'd be good just to have the overall demographics within our district, just to remind us as what that typical breakout is of these groups, just so that we have that piece in mind. And then the other piece is, I just forgot. It'll come back.
And Chris, to your point, I will check with Tim on that, on the 52-48 split.
Yeah, thanks. I think 5248 is probably accurate. It's just that the breakouts, the sub breakouts, the white numbers are fishy. If that's the plurality and it's most extreme away from it, that makes me wonder what's going on.
I know what it was. Can you break out the remote learning? Because K1 is actually 4 days and not a hybrid model, I would be intrigued to see a K1 split on that and a 2-5 split. Because I think that hybrid model brings up some questions for families in regards to logistics.
Yes.
In some regards. And
Absolutely. Great, great point.
And so it's one of those things of, is that something to think about? And do we see how much more we can do with full, right? Moving to more consistency as opposed to a hype, just sort of those things. So.
Okay, and then I just want to give an opportunity for the board, when you think about, and you gave us great feedback at the board meeting, and so we have that, the comments around, SEL supports, how are we supporting students right now? How are we thinking about continuing to provide supports as students transition back, as we think about not just this year, but next year, and the SEL needs of our students, thinking about different, populations of students and their needs. Are there other concepts or things you want us to think about as we prepare for February 8th in the study session that you would like to see as part of that discussion?
So 2 things I think is, did they do the panorama survey again this year? I know we've done that in the past. And did that occur? And we were piloting in the middle schools that screening form. Mm-hmm. I'm assuming that potentially got put on hold just because of the environment. I don't know.
Okay.
Because that possibly can provide information in some regards into how the status where kids are at in relation. So.
Okay.
I'd be curious to know if there were families that we did not get a response from. And the demographics perhaps of who those families are and strategies to reach them if we were not able.
So it has the table. It's 264, at least for K-5, non-responses. But I guess the question is, it would be interesting, to the extent we can report that out, with understanding who those people are.
Yep.
And John, I'm not sure I care to see the full table of all buildings, but if you just had it break down on what are our most extreme buildings for buildings that want to come back and buildings that don't want to come back, I'll be interested to know.
So kind of the outlier data?
Yeah.
Yep.
I don't have anything else. Anyone else?
Great. Well, this will be and really the plan is to have that dialogue with the board at the February study session, and then to package that for a public presentation at the February 8th board meeting, to allow us to have that discussion and dialogue, in the study session, but also to have a presentation for the public, knowing that all of this is public, but just to be able to have that presentation format as well.
You're looking at scans.
Well, I'm just wondering if because we're having that discussion there might be pieces there. Is it better to hold that presentation to the following February board meeting in order to incorporate any sorts of conversation, discussion, or things that come up there?
Yeah, but I've thought about that. My thought is the time. This is timely right now.
Right.
Because I think what the public presentation will focus on is really, what are the current strategies and actions that are being taken? And so I think that, that's important information for us to not just share with the board, but really to the public, to be able to say, here's, all of the things that we are doing for kind of these different pieces, failure rates, students that aren't engaged, SEL and mental health supports, because there is a significant amount of work going on in all of these areas already. I think the conversation will help kind of probe into some of those and provide some additional areas to think about. But I think there's information that we definitely could deliver to the community in a presentation that would be beneficial.
So then I would encourage in that as well, that there is that here are our areas we think we need to target more and be able to go forward and just have some of that forward thinking at the same time. So it's not a static presentation, but is looking for what the next 4 months might hold.
Great.
Or areas to focus on in the next month that we're going to come back with, I guess might be the piece to look at it.
Actually, John, I apologize. I found the data on by building. It was the last page that I hadn't gotten to. And it's fascinating that we have schools that range from 1 to 2 to 2 to 1. And yep. I guess there's a reason that I'm catching a hell of a lot of earfuls about getting back to school, because if you look at where they are, my neighborhood appears to be the highest. So Kirkland,
which is fascinating.
Is fascinating. I would not have expected that.
I can't make heads or tails out of. I remember I was like puzzling my way through this, trying to understand what the through line is. So, yeah, maybe there is none.
Well, I think there's just group norming too, as well, right? That people who live in the same area and those conversations, and I think you get some of those components too that come through.
Right.
That's why you get some of this, but.
Anyway.
That's really interesting.
So thank you for breaking it up by schools. It does help a little geographically.
Mm-hmm.
However, when you group it by Kirkland, by learning community, honestly, as opposed to alphabetical.
Yeah.
Oh, gotcha.
I just have to remember where they are. I was going to color code them, and that seemed a little hard.
So hand sorted. Okay. No, we can do that. We'll just sort it by learning community.
Right.
Yeah, just add a column and sort by that.
Yep.
I had faith in them.
I did.
Okay. That is very helpful and great discussion around these data, and we look forward to the February 8th presentation.
All right, that is the end of our agenda for the study session. The board will now meet in executive session for 30 minutes to review the performance of a public employee. Following the executive session, the June 30 study session will be adjourned. So let's see, it's 12:07. We'll start the study session we have another link, correct, Dr. Holman?
Yes. Yes, we do.
Yes. So we'll be starting the study session at 12:09 probably. So I'll switch over there now.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.